And welcome along, everybody, to the GLL Masters Summer. It's the final day of the EMEA regions, the grand final, day 2. And there's no better man to have alongside me to take you through the action. It is, of course, Dan Gaskin. As you can tell, Dan, I am trying to contain my excitement, but it's not an easy task right now.
I'm just quite happy that I'm not next to you, because when you get like this is when you start like judo chopping me and karate chopping me and doing all the different things that you shouldn't be doing to me whilst we're broadcasting, Mark. So it's quite nice, actually, that we're in quarantine and I'm away from you.
Yeah, it's probably safer, but it's not as fun for me, and maybe I don't know what's going to happen to me now that I don't have you to kind of take that energy out on. But let's try and take it out on the commentary today. Hey, let's try and do that. But what a day we had yesterday. I mean, we look at the top of the table, and there's two teams really that we have to say were the standouts. North and Alliance seem to have separated themselves a little bit, but a couple of big performances from those teams within that top 5, 6, 7, and all of a sudden we've got a crazy last day on our hands.
Yeah, I think we saw the consistency from North. I mean, they were able to pull out the victory as well, but on the other side for Alliance, the 3 victories they were able to get out of the 8 matches showed a different kind of consistency. It showed that when they do get to that end game, they're more likely to get the victory and get the win. Whereas North were pretty much there or thereabouts in the end game, more or less every game except one, if I remember correctly. Whereas Alliance, they dropped off in a couple of games. So we're going to see how that shapes up going into today with the amount of points that you can get, depending on if you're going to be consistent in actually getting wins or just consistent in getting to that end game.
It's going to be certainly exciting to see, and as you well know, 8 games is what we're going to be getting through today as we take a quick look at that tournament schedule so you guys know what to expect from the action today and when everything is going to be going down. You can see what's happened so far. We already had 4 weeks of league play before we had our last chance qualifier. Grand Finals day 1 is done and dusted. This is where we are. It's the last one that isn't grayed out because this is the final day, Dan.
The final day, indeed. It all comes down to this, and I'm so excited to see who is actually going to come out on top, because it's been flip-flopping ever since we first started it out. There were some teams who were kind of dropping into the Bravo division, who started in the Bravo division. If you take North, for example, the fact they climbed their way into the Alpha, and then they've dominated ever since. But this is the schedule for today. Of course, we have 8 more matches. 4 on World's Edge and 4 on Kings Canyon. And if yesterday is anything to go by in both EMEA and the Americas region, we are in store for some juicy matchups, Mark.
Oh, 100%. And this is what they are playing for. It's the $100,000 prize pool point system on the right. If you don't know it by now, then, I mean, you're never going to learn it. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But first place, 12 points for that in the game. 1 point per kill as well. Don't worry about the double points. That doesn't matter because it's all about this one lobby. There's the prize distribution as well. And we're going to be giving out some of that money today, Dan.
Oh, yes, we are. People are going to be playing for this money now, and that's what it's all been about. These long, grinding weeks that everyone has been competing for all comes down to this. And I'll be keeping a keen eye on the points as well, because, of course, every placement is going to matter today. Every kill point is going to matter as well. If a rat is able to survive and get those extra placement points, that could be the difference from finishing top 5 or top 3. And, of course, when those rats get those extra KP as well, we've seen it already yesterday, some of those big, important kills, just being able to clean them up before you get taken out yourself can make or break the difference.
I mean, day 1 was crazy enough in the EMEA region. It was fairly, I would say, to par, and some of the teams that we saw at the top of the table, maybe outside of Gambit, who really did have a little bit of a shambles. And I saw a couple of the guys on Twitter saying that's the unluckiest day of Apex we've ever had. But they do have another day to put that right today. But if you were watching the Americas yesterday, then, I mean, there really were some big surprises. You look at the top of the table, you look at the likes of TSM really struggling. So if the EMEA region continues in the way that it did yesterday, I just want to get into these games because every single one has different permutations for how it goes. Day 1 is done and dusted. You've got yourself a head start. You've got yourself into a position to win. But this is the 8 games that really, really matter now. It's about clutching up in those big minutes.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboards to see where everyone currently resides then, to remind ourselves as to what happened yesterday in the EMEA region. North are top, but only by 3 points. Alliance getting 3 victories yesterday, which still isn't enough to take them above North. North's kills have really what set them aside from the rest of the pack. Down at the bottom, there are a few strugglers. Lazarus in particular have only found 2 kills throughout the entirety of those 8 matches yesterday. It has not been a fun time for them whatsoever. As Mark highlighted, Gambit is a team we wouldn't really expect to be down there. Lava City boys haven't had the best of time either, but they have been at least picking up some decent KP. It's going to be a big struggle for a lot of these teams that are in the kind of bottom 5, 6, who are, if they have any chance of really getting up into the top 10, let alone getting up to the top 5. And even thinking about that first place mark. But realistically, I think anyone in the top 11 could still win this tournament. And I think that is a bit of a push, but I do think outsiders could.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one big game, we saw it yesterday, how it can completely change the table. If a couple of those teams in front of you don't have a game where they pick up many points, then, this table can completely change its complexion by the end of play today. And one team that I really want to keep an eye on is that team in 4th place, Luminosity Gaming. Just seem to be getting better and better and better. They were always near that end game. They were always in contention of winning. Decent KP on the board as well. But the one thing that was missing was that big win. And we saw what that did for North. That was what put them on top of the pile here in 1st place.
Yeah, LG were able to get 3rd place 3 times, so they were still consistent in a few of the games, but they just weren't able to push themselves that little bit further. And whether that's down to just kind of map placement and maybe their rotation wasn't soon enough, or they just got a little bit unlucky. There was a couple of times where they got to the last circle where they only had 2 out of 3 players, so they kind of just had to hide, wait for that battle to kind of unfold, and they knew really that they were sacrificing themselves and they were just going to be trying to do damage and pick up a little bit of KP and take that 3rd place spot. To change things today, they need to make sure they get to a healthy final circle, make sure all 3 of them are going to be alive, not to lose anyone in the early game. So if they are going to take those early fights, they need to make sure they're winning them, but winning them commandingly. They need to actually take them down early, otherwise they might struggle in the late game again.
And another team who performed incredibly well yesterday was SJP2. 2 wins for them, back-to-back as well. One on World's Edge and one on Kings Canyon. However, outside of that, a little bit quiet in comparison to some of the other teams. But having the potential to go into that end game or win those games is certainly going to fill them with confidence today. So I really feel like Luminosity and SJP2 are kind of what I would say the wild card teams coming into today, right, that really could upset things. And I have to throw Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in there, still in touch, even though by their own standards, Dan, you have to say day one didn't go their way.
Didn't go their way. I mean, especially just going back to SJP2 as well. After those 2 victories, they then finished 18th, 19th, and 18th, only picking up 2 kills in those last 3 matches, which really is throwing away what an advantage they were able to give themselves after those 2 victories. That's not good enough. You need to have that consistency. It's all well and good getting 2 wins and being like, okay, well, we won more matches than North, but look where you are in the table, because in the games where you did flop, you flopped hard. You need to make sure you're not actually having those struggles and find that consistency that other teams are. But Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, yeah, like they are so good, and they're one of my favorite teams to actually watch because I find them quite exciting. They do get aggressive, but maybe the aggression kind of went against them a little bit yesterday because they did find themselves in a couple of tricky situations. And even though, yes, they had a couple of good games, their bad games were very bad games. And that's what is really separating the field right now, is we've got teams who are excelling in certain areas, but they're also picking up points in their bad games where they might be affected by RNG, or they just haven't had the quite right circle, all these different factors that come into the equation, but they're still able to get the right rotation, get some decent KP, and pick up something from what is meant to be a bad game.
Yeah, I want to see Nasky, Strafe, and Dell on their rotation from their drop actually get a little bit more fortunate with their loot that they're picking up as well. The amount of times that we jumped on board with them yesterday, it was like a couple of blues and a white or an Evo shield or something like that, in comparison to teams who were maybe playing edge and working their way in, which, had full purples or charged up Evo shields, kind of put them at a little bit of a disadvantage. But that's the trade-off you make, right? If you're going to make that rotation early, if you're going to land central on either Kings Canyon or World's Edge, sometimes you have to sacrifice that loot table to get that early position. So I think a few more things go their way, and they certainly could be in the hump for today. But Gambit's another one that I want to keep my eye on today, and I kind of want to follow them in a few early games because, as I said, a few of the players yesterday were just saying we were just super unlucky on our rotations yesterday. There wasn't really much else we could do. It was just one of those days where things just didn't go right, and I kind of like that attitude, to be honest with you. There doesn't seem to be any blame. There doesn't seem to be any fingers being pointed. It's just a case of them realizing that, hey, these things happen sometimes. We've got 8 games today to at least put ourselves in a position where we can upset a few of those teams ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's all well and good saying we got unlucky, but across 8 games, like, to still be down there...
You're right. Yeah, I agree.
That's concerning. I mean, yes, you can get unlucky for 8 games. You have to get very unlucky to do so. They finished, second in one of their games, where they picked up 6 kills as well. So they had one good game out of all of that, but they're still down in that bottom 5. They need to find whatever little bit of magic or whatever little bit of luck they had in that second game and progress that to every single game today. They can't afford to have any bad luck that goes against them. If there is bad luck, they need to pick themselves up and say, okay, well, how do we defeat this? Because other teams are doing it. When other teams are having RNG going against them, they're still picking up big points. So whether that is just changing up your tempo, getting a little bit aggressive, or maybe even thinking about changing that composition, because that has worked for other teams as well. So we'll see whether they change anything up today, because they're going to have to do something if they want any chance of not even winning the tournament, but even getting into the top 10 mark.
I think it's going to be super interesting day for Gambit Esports. And I think they may be in a position to upset some of those teams who are chasing that first place position. But I want to ask you who you think your wild card is going to be today. We're kind of going to exclude North and Alliance from their performance because of their performances yesterday, where they put a little gap between them and the rest of the field. But from the chasing pack, who do you think the team is there that can do the damage?
I'd have to say either Ad Hoc Gaming or Third Impact Black, because they've got two very aggressive compositions. Of course, you've got the Bloodhound on Ad Hoc Gaming, and as soon as you see that scan coming for you, you know they're pushing because they want to get in your face. There's some insane skill on that roster, and they're, I think, in third at the moment. Yeah, they are. They're in third at the moment, so they definitely have the opportunity to upset the top of that pack and upset and break into that top two. Third Impact are a little bit lower. They're running the Revenant and Crypto composition, and they have been the aggressors. Like, every time we're on board with them, they are pushing someone. Their placements haven't been amazing, but their kill points have been pretty incredible. Yes, okay, they've had a couple of games where they get caught between 2 or 3 teams, and that's where they really struggle. So today, they just need to try and pinpoint how they're going to attack teams and try and make sure they're not going to be third-partied as easily as they were yesterday. But those are my two teams, Mark, that I'll be looking out for as maybe causing an upset.
Well, here we go then, ladies and gents. It's game 9 of 16, our first game of the day here on Sunday. And it is going to be starting off on World's Edge. We're going to be jumping on board with North to start this off. No surprise there. Currently top of our leaderboards by just a couple of points away from Alliance, who, of course, be doing everything that they can to chase North down. And they're going to move in towards Overlook here for their first drop of the day. And I think the pressure's on their shoulders today. Leading the pack coming into today, Dan, it's kind of one of those added pressure things that you don't think about too much until you jump out that dropship.
Yeah, it's always going to be a different mentality, whether you're leading or whether you're chasing. If you're chasing, you always know you have to kind of keep an eye on that scoreboard and take a look and see whether North are going to be dropping out. Are you going to be pushing for more KP? Do you need to be playing for placement? Whereas for North, I mean, they are the front runners. They are just kind of setting the speed and the pace of this game whilst everyone else just waits to see what happens. As soon as North get eliminated, if they were to get eliminated, then everyone else says, okay, well, this is our chance to kind of leapfrog them at this point. So North just have to decide how they're going to approach this. Are they going to play their kind of normal style and go for maybe those placements? Or do they say, you know what, let's take the game to the rest of this lobby. Let's try a little bit of aggression at the start. Maybe we can actually take out a couple of teams that are chasing us, and that could really help them in the long run. But you can see the circle there is going to be very much around Epicenter and the survey camp. We have seen quite a lot of circles actually end up in this northeastern region throughout this tournament, Mark, and that really does favor these teams who have been dropping near Epicenter and Refinery.
Yeah, I agree with you. And North is one of those teams. You can see them pinging here on the right-hand side of your map, the very eastern side here at Overlook. Not too far for them to traverse. And the good thing for them as well, they can take that high ground between Survey Camp and Refinery. You saw a couple of pings there where they think that circle could be, the one just outside of Refinery and the one actually inside of Survey Camp itself. But for the chasing teams, and I'm talking about Alliance here, not the circle they would have wanted to see, because there's been more than one, shall we say, northern circle here on World's Edge on day number 1. And Alliance, who drop right at the southwestern side of the map, are going to have a long way to traverse, and they're going to kind of hope that maybe they get a little bit of RNG today and a ring that pulls their way.
I guess the good thing for Alliance is their worst placements have been 14th. Oh my goodness, these are some crazy shots coming out of Matafe, and Ad Hoc Gaming yet again are showing a little bit of aggression here, putting a bit of pressure on a team who has dropped near them. And I wonder whether they are going to push for this KP, but they do have to be a little bit careful, because I think it was scouts on the other side, and that means you can be absolutely ripped apart. But Zipeth going for the flank here, and it's going to be the perfect flank as well. Just needs a little bit of support. We'll utilize the Gibby Dome just to ensure that he's not going to be an easy kill here, Mark.
He gets the dome down just to make sure that he isn't taken down too easily, but the Prowler shots are going to absolutely rip him apart. And it's Nessie who are moving in here, and Zipeth, although he went for that flank, his teammates weren't in position to deal the damage to allow him to finish off those kills. And from what seemed like Ad Hoc Gaming being completely and utterly in control of this fight initially, now they're very much on the back foot. And another team here on the back foot is Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. They've already had Strafey knocked down here. And look at the armor again, just 2 whites on Nasky and Dell, and this is a tough situation for them to play.
Yeah, this is not going to be fun for them whatsoever. You know, they're going to be considering trying to get Strafe back up and see if they can at least get the banner and maybe get the respawn a little bit later. But sometimes you just have to accept that that's not going to happen, and this is not going to be a game for you. Instead, it's going to be the struggle bus game where you just have to play for placement as a 2 and try and survive. But here's a Third Impact, another team that I was talking about, who have that aggressive composition, Mark, and with the Revenant available to them, they can, of course, decide when they want to get aggressive on a team, and they have spotted one team. This could be an ambush.
That's why I'm saying, oh no, because here comes the totem as Third Impact, one of the teams who are in the chasing pack at the moment, have spotted their prey and are moving in aggressively. There's the Crypto EMP as well, and this could be an easy wipe here for Third Impact. They managed to take one down from Figvam. Carry Rubik is no longer for this game, but it looks like there's a third party coming in here. So many players and so many teams in this area, and it's actually Na'Vi who have managed to get a couple of knocks onto LG here. So lots of action going down, and all of it being sparked by the Revenant players.
Yeah, Na'Vi just playing this aggressive comp yet again. Crypto has fallen, but the res can come out now. There is a grenade just behind them, so they have to be careful as Third Impact are still on the hunt looking for this KP. The portal is there for them if they need to get close or get away. And that's one thing that all these compositions have done very well, is making sure that they have a portal from the Wraith just to ensure they have that backup plan. As otherwise, you can find yourself in quite a tricky situation. And then it was pretty detrimental, you got to say, for TSM yesterday running this composition. They really weren't able to get firing, especially in the early matches anyway. And it begs the question of, like, is this the meta? Is this the kind of composition that we're going to see going forward? Or maybe it doesn't work in certain scenarios. And I think it really comes down to the lobby, Mark, and how everyone else is playing.
Yeah, it comes down to timing and execution as well. The dive meta, as it's been coined, taking those aggressive fights when you see the opportunity, but it's not just a case of running aimlessly. You've got to make sure that you know exactly how to play that composition and balance all of these legends to get the most out of them. Gambit Esports now looking pretty balanced as far as their armor is concerned. It's got 3 purples on the board, and they've managed to make a pretty safe rotation in here. If Leogri can make his way forward, he actually will get the armor swap inside the building as well. And Gambit Esports, as I said, a very, very quiet day from them yesterday, but they've got into survey camp here. They've got control of one of the prime buildings that they need to hold down for this potential end zone as well, so they'll be feeling a lot happier here in game 1, or should I say game 9, than they were in games 1 to 8.
As we're just on board with Lazarus here as well, still with one of my favorite players, Roger Bodger, but yesterday was not a day for them to remember. Only 2 kills they were able to pick up throughout the entire 8 matches. 2 of those actually came from the 3rd match where they finished 8th. Every other match they got 0 points. One time they finished in 20th. They were kind of struggling 19th, a couple of 15th places as well. Their highest placement was that 8th spot, and that's why they are currently bottom of our leaderboards. They'll need a miraculous day if they are going to be able to rescue something in this tournament. Otherwise, they are just going to kind of be that bottom feeder. Everyone, as soon as they see Lazarus, probably thinking these are going to be a couple of easy kills or 3 easy kills. So they need to be a little bit careful that they're not pushovers in this tournament.
North have managed to make their rotation into survey camp here as well. So it looks like a lot of teams are thinking it is going to be a survey camp finish. And you're just looking across the armors here, RPR with the blue, but everyone else just basically got a thin sheet over them at the moment with those white armors in comparison to a lot of those teams are going to have towards the end game. But looking across, you've got the R301 and the P2020 with those hammer points on as well for Tashin on the Watson. So he's going to be pretty well set up to finish off some of those kills that are started as soon as those shields will be cracked. Cooler Esports here, just outside of the little compound, just to the west of Fragment West as well. Just looking to gatekeep this team, essentially, from moving down. And you're going to see a lot of teams who have to rotate from the west towards Survey Camp here, having fights and trying to pick up KP just as those teams come in.
Decent armor to work with for Cooler Esports. They were 8th in the leaderboards after all of yesterday's action. They had that one game where they really excelled when they finished 3rd, but aside from that, it was kind of middle of the pack for the majority of other games. Na'Vi are a team who have struggled as well. I mean, after their miraculous performance in the last chance qualifier, where they literally just had 1 good game out of 6 to actually get here, they were so close to being eliminated. They went from a kind of more normal defensive composition and then switching over to that Revenant composition in the final game, and they've stuck with it for these finals, and they've had some success here or there, but maybe not as much success as they would have liked. That would have found them a little bit higher up in the table.
Flavor of the month. First time we're going to see them here on day 2 of our grand finals. And the first time we do see them, Pierre's going to hit a beautiful shot with that charge rifle to crack the shields on the Pathfinder that was up on top of that building. And I'm not sure who this team is at the moment, but they've got to be careful peeking this man, because as we know, the charge rifle does so much damage with that hit scan. And that scope on top of it as well. And Pierre is just breaking shields here. And you can see his teammates Taylor and Noth desperately trying to move up to potentially finish some of these kills.
Yeah, they want to be able to jump on this if Pierre's able to get a significant and more amount of damage with that charge rifle. But they're also well aware that other teams could be pushing them at the same time. Still got a minute and 20 before this second ring is going to be closing. Flavor of the month, they just need to ensure they don't do anything too silly here because they're in a decent position. This is certainly one of the more powerful spots, I would say, considering where this ring is starting to head towards us. There is going to be a little bit of pressure from the right-hand side as well. Exorcism maybe want to take a sniff at this. They do have one player up on that high ground, but a couple of them are down low. And when you don't have the height advantage, it can be very difficult to take that fight.
You just got a quick look at Ad Hoc Gaming there, and you can see that Zippeth has been taken out of the game, so they will be playing as a 2. North are going to be pretty comfortable inside this building, just looking for any teams rotating in late here to potentially steal the kills away from the fights that they might be engaged in. And speaking of fights, here comes Flavor of the Month, trying to push onto Exorcism here as some nice wingman shots from Pierre are going to crack his shield, and now his teammates are going to be moving in. The question here for Pierre is, when are you going to drop and finish them off? And here comes the answer to that. Nice wingman shots, but he gets taken down. But Flavor of the Month should be in a comfortable position to win this one. They do. They will get the res. And there's our KP on the board as we now have 17 squads remaining. And as we see the kill feed, Cooler Esports having a player dropped as well by outsiders.
Yeah, I'd say that Flavor of the Month, like, if they have a really good day, they are one of the teams that can really surprise this lobby. I think they might be too far behind first. It's still possible, don't get me wrong, but they're going to need like a flawless day of Apex Legends if they were going to be able to win this tournament. The highest placing they had yesterday, they got 3rd place in our first game, then they got a 4th place. They just dropped off throughout the day, and I don't know whether that was just ring circles, they weren't as good, the RNG didn't go their way, or maybe they just lacked a little bit of confidence in fights after other teams were picking up more kills. Either way, Flavor of the Month, definitely a team we have to keep an eye on as this tournament progresses.
You can see 2 teams are fighting here at the top of the tracks, just at the very, very north of World's Edge. And it was Cooler Esports who were looking to gatekeep both of these teams, but it looks like they're going to have to get their business done in a straight 3v3 fight. Nice shots there from Malawan as well, and he manages to break one shield and do 44 damage on the other. They will get 1 knock, they will get 2 knocks, and that's finalized there. Who are the team who are in all sorts of trouble, and Rich is actually become the kill leader here, so a good start here for Major Pushers.
Yeah, we can't forget Major Pushers did have that one victory as well yesterday, and they, of course, had the great Battle of Bunker 2020, and it looks like if there's ever an extended fight, Major Pushers are often involved in that, and I think that's just because of their composition. When you've got a caustic, you are going to be in these long battles where people are going to be reluctant to push you because it's very difficult to push on a caustic, but they seem to come out on top the majority of the time. And I think that is a really good sign of a strong team, that even when it's a long-winded fight, they still get the victory and they're not getting third-partied that often. So they're able to at least put shots on those teams that are trying to push in third-party just to warn them away and give them long enough to win these fights that they seem to be constantly getting in a scuffle with.
Well, Pierre has managed to find himself an Evo shield here, so that charge rifle is going to be even more valuable to Flavor of the Month as he can hit a few shots. You can see he's only 138 damage points away and make that 82. That wasn't my maths. I just kept my eye on that bottom left-hand side of your screen to see how far away he is from getting that purple. There's another 45, and if he can hit that again, then he will get that purple. But unfortunately for him, it's one charge rifle exchanging with another as the shots come in from Narnia and force him to back down.
Everyone's still having a little look into this one. Every time they walk around a corner, it seems there's another team who has Watson fenced up. And I think you've only got 16 squads left as this circle gets smaller. I'm not really surprised that a lot of these kind of big old rocks that provide such good cover have been taken up. Residency is there for teams, and it's still this charge rifle that's doing so much damage. But now Na'Vi are in a little bit of trouble. They do lose 1, and now they're going to have to take this fight potentially 2 versus 3.
Yeah, and it's Lava City Boys who they're going to be going up against as they do pop the totem here. And now they're going to be trying to get aggressive and do as much damage as they can in this 2v3 situation. The only problem is both of them have now been reset, and now Lava City Boys have the chance to push, and it's actually going to be Nasky, Strafe, and Dell who tried to get involved with this, as Dell's going to hit some nice wingman shots to drop claws, and that's going to give the opportunity here for Lava City Boys to get those heals off and get back in the game.
That's always the trouble with the totem as well. As soon as you pop that totem in a somewhat vulnerable area, if another team sees that, they just go, hey, well, let's just watch this totem and let's wait for them to come back. As soon as they get sent back, that is an easy down or 2. And that's exactly what has happened. Nasky, Strafe, and Dow, as we move over to them, there's just going to be the 2 of them out of 3, as Lava City Boys are trying to loot up, but they need to make sure they get the kill first, which they do, and that's Na'Vi eliminated in 16th spot. So the aggressive meta has not worked for them in this particular match.
Yeah, Navi eliminated pretty early once again. Lava City boys, again, seem to be involved on those edge fights every single time that we do see them. Flavor of the Month still very much alive here, and you can see that Pierre's managed to get that Evo shield up to purple now, so he'll be working on getting that fully maxed out and getting that red Evo shield to work with towards this end circle. They are just inside that next circle as well, as we have 25 seconds remaining. It looks like a team are going to be pushing up on them as well, but some nice shots are at least going to back that team down, but unfortunately for him, his teammates not quite in position to maybe finish off those kills, but it looks like they're just trying to gatekeep that team who are moving in from the eastern side of World's Edge here and maybe cut them off as they're forced in by the ring.
Ring is going to be closing, and I'm interested to see where this one moves, because this could make or break quite a few teams' match. As Alliance, one of our teams to watch, and of course, second at the moment in the overall leaderboards, have been able to slightly work their way into the circle, but I think a couple of teams might have spotted them, and Flavor of the Month being one of those teams. And Flavor of the Month do have quite a lot of weaponry and a decent amount of armor to work with here, as again, Pierre just being a real nuisance with this charge rifle.
Yeah, Alliance trying to desperately rotate away here and just reset and get some shields in, and as these shots are going to be firing off, and they're going to be heard by everybody who's set up in survey camp, I'm sure everybody wants to get a little bite of this sandwich, and unfortunately for Alliance, they seem to be the fill-in at the moment, but they've managed to get away here just for a second to reset and get those shields back up. And there's the portal down as well, as Hackis has actually forced a Q out of that position. So they're going to have to reassess how they want to approach this next circle. And it looks like they're going to move down towards Epicenter and try and play that low ground and move in as late as possible.
Yeah, they're just constantly running away from Flavor of the Month now. They don't want to take this fight yet, do Alliance. They would rather wait for the opportunity to potentially third party with the armor that they do have. But speaking of third partying, we got Third Impact instead, who are going to get aggressive now, and they are going to be diving on this squad. And some decent shots already, and now here comes the Mastiff, but is going to be sent back. But are they in a position where they can push quick enough? It looks like Alliance have been able to heal back up quick enough so that they can take the fight and also just survive enough, Mark, where they can actually check both angles and make sure they're not going to be taken down here.
Yeah, that was pretty good news, to be honest, for Alliance there, that team that was in front of them got pushed by Third Impact. It's given them a little bit of room to play with, and the damage that was done to Third Impact during that fight means that Alliance can now get back involved. But speaking of teams to get involved, you can see there is a team underneath them as well. So Alliance have managed to pick up some knocks. Third Impact, unfortunately, only managed to get 1 KP out of that push. But for Alliance, that's absolutely huge. They've cleared out an area of the map, and they've managed to work their way in ever so slightly more. They can also loot up and get those weapons and ammo and heals that they do need. You can see we did have a solo player there as well, who's managed to find his way under one of those buildings inside a survey camp, and that's kind of cleared the way here for Alliance to move in. You can see the ping to that rock as Hackis sets that portal down and tries to find their way in.
It's always such a shame when that last solo player is a Gibby as well. I always feel like that trombone is appropriate. They're like, it just seems appropriate for a Gibby who's trying to rat. It just doesn't really work out. Their movement is not there. They don't really have the ability to get into those end circles on their own, especially in comparison to the likes of Pathfinder and Wraith. But here's Third Impact again involved in a little bit of an engagement. There's going to be some decent shots. Mastiff hits for 42. It's going to be a crack on the shields. Another crack there as well, and the team come through to get the wipe. But now Zeke's going to be the last remaining player, and he's desperately trying to get the revive here. And he's hoping that the shield can just keep him there, but unfortunately, he will see his teammate fall, and I think it's just going to have to be him playing his own life at this point.
Yeah, he's managed to find a little rock here to hide behind those. So for Third Impact, that's big. They play for those KP, and then they kind of work on the positioning afterwards and those placement points. But 12 squads still remaining here, as Yuki is going to be knocked in the feed there from Cooler Esports. Ad Hoc Gaming in a bit of a sticky situation at the moment, but they're managing to get themselves out of it as the portal from Atafe is going to be set up to revive the Bloodhound of Kuya. Got the gold bag as well to get those heals back up to half health, so they're not going to be pushed too quickly or without any kind of resistance coming from their side. But you can see when that next circle is going to be pulling to the north here, so not too far for Ad Hoc Gaming to move. And for Nasky and Dell, they've done a superb job so far of getting from that early loss of their teammate Strafey into this position towards the end game.
Yeah, this has just been a survival game for them. Now they have been spotted out, as actually Pierre from Flavor of the Month has been taken down just as we switch over to their POV. It was North as well doing the damage. Mandate the one picking up the kill, but maybe they can teleport him back and they can actually pick up him before they have to move in these next 25 seconds. You see how he was just dancing around the rock there, making sure no one was going to be able to pop off shots, and Flavor of the Month will be healthy for now. Not much time to heal up and rethink as to where they're going to push into this next circle.
Yeah, major pushes were actually in a little bit of trouble there. You can see Malawan's been dropped in the feed by Lazarus, who were taking up residence in one of those buildings within Survey Camp. Gambit Esports, much better start for them today. However, only the top 12 so far, so a long way to go for them. But that knock from Hardeki with the Prowler onto Matafe is certainly going to help them out a little bit, as there's now just that one player alive from Ad Hoc Gaming, and it's Kuya who's going to be on the Bloodhound. But Gambit in a decent position here. You can see right inside of that next circle. So all the teams who are outside are going to have to move into their crosshairs, as Artico's going to pop that ultimate accelerant as well to get another interception pylon down when that next one does, of course, unfortunately explode.
Wow, Lazarus as our bottom fraggers and our bottom team in this tournament. They found their way into the top 10 and they have a healthy total to work with as well. Decent weaponry, and they are picking up some KP here as everything is exploding in the kill feed now. Flavor of the Month have been able to pick up some frags, and here comes Anime Lover doing some real damage alongside the rest of this Lazarus squad. They have been in prime position for this circle mark.
Lazarus doing a pretty good job, and as you say it, prime position for them for the majority of this game. The question is now, can they execute on this position and make the most of it, as 4 squads now remaining. Flavor of the Month is one of those squads, and you can hear that the res is coming in as well onto the Wraith player. Taylor, gold bag as well for him, so huge in this situation to be able to get those players back up, as 4 squads still remaining here. We see Mandy and Taishin taken down by Lazarus player. And Lazarus now kind of stuck behind this truck in the middle of Survey Camp. They're going to be able to get those heals off. And RPR is the last man alive here for North. This could be a huge game for them. And he's got that devotion to work with as well. So if he can survive here and get towards that final circle and get that spray going with the devotion, he could pick up not only placement points here, Dan, but he could also manage to pick up some big KP for his team.
Trouble is, Lazarus know he is there, and he has to be very careful here if he wants to take this fight. But maybe he's been able to just dip out of the way here, and he can now loot his teammate's box. But Lazarus are on the hunt. They know he is there. They are going to try and take him down and get this KP. The devotion is going to do some real work, but can actually Lazarus get this final bit of KP and eliminate North, who have done so well to get to this point? As realistically, North, top 4, I mean, they'll take that, especially as we saw Alliance get wiped around 7th or 8th.
Lazarus still inside this building. They managed to get some armor swaps off as well. RPR did manage to get away during all of that chaos. And speaking of chaos, the ball is about to start rolling. RPR managed to get a knock there, but he will be traded out by PS. And we're now down to our last 3 teams. And look at this. Nessie, the monster in the dark, have managed to find their way into this top 3 as well. 2 KP to the name of Graceful as he moved in as well. Beautiful shots with the flatline. Now we have our last 2 squads. Surely this has to be Nessie who take home this win, as right in front of them is the last player. They managed to execute beautifully on that final push, and it was the team that we didn't really realize were in that position who poke up like a ghost in the night and managed to take home our game number 9.
Yeah, Nessie just waiting patiently there for Flavor of the Month and Lazarus to get into a little bit of a kerfuffle, and then as soon as they did, they pounced and they took full advantage of any sort of height advantage they had, and a decent win for Nessie. I mean, a team that we hadn't really spoke about too much because they didn't show up that often yesterday, if I'm going to be completely honest. Of course, the previous Triumph roster, they finished 10th when we came out of the qualifiers for the Grand Finals. They only just snuck into Grand Finals, and then yesterday, they were mid-table for the majority of the time. But now with a victory, they'll start to say, all right, okay, if we can build from this, if we can pick up a couple of more victories and show consistency across today, then why not? Let's try and make a run at potentially taking this.
It was certainly an interesting game, and those teams who were involved in the final circles weren't ones that were involved yesterday, so maybe a little bit of chat have been going down between the players between day 1 and day 2. A couple of things have been adjusted to make sure that yesterday's performance will not be repeated today, but this was the highlights here of the Na'Vi versus Lava City Boys push, and it was Alliance here. This was the big battle for them. They tried to make their way in. They got held up by Flavor of the Month, who they couldn't take that fight. And this was Third Impact getting involved. But Alliance didn't last too much longer after this. Whereas North and RPR getting to that end game as the solo. You talked about it yesterday. Those little games where you get a few kills, few placement points, so vital.
And I mean, can we just give a shout out to Lazarus, considering yesterday they only got 2 kills and the best placement was 8th, and they literally only had 7 points, I think, coming into today's action. They've just been able to finish a top 2, in fact, and taking out some pretty big teams on their way. So I'm very impressed with what they had to offer. Flavor of the Month also showing up, but it was all about Nessie in this final push. I mean, everything was presented to them on a plate in the end, and they gobbled that up like they would, and like anyone would really when you are in that situation.
Yeah, good execution from them in those final moments. But the interesting thing now is, it's not so much who the teams who are winning that are down at the bottom of the table, it's who they're taking points away from, right? Those teams who are in that chasing pack, are they getting those KP on those teams? And that's why I kind of highlighted how important that performance from RPR was right at the end there. So with the end of our first game of the day, game number 9 in the total of our grand finals North, probably the happiest out of most of the teams who are vying for that championship spot. But for now, we're going to take a break because the next game is just around the corner. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back once again, everybody, to the final day of the EMEA region GLL Masters Summer. And our first winner of the day was Nessie. A little bit of a surprise there as we had that survey camp finish. But North kind of the story there to talk about, Dan, because they managed to get into those top placement points. And with the other teams dropping, that's good news for them.
Yeah, North will still start to create a little bit of a gap at the top of the leaderboard. Alliance fell a little bit earlier than they did. Alliance still did well. They still got to the top 10 as far as I was aware. I think they were around 8th, but we'll get confirmation later when we see the results. Either way, North still having that consistency carrying over from yesterday, which is very important. And I think what we expected. North have been that #1 team throughout this tournament for so long, and they are still shining here today. But the big difference maker was the bottom teams actually showing up. Today,
finally,
yesterday. Like, it's about time, and I'm sure there were a lot of teams who were saying, okay, we've finally got a circle that actually works for us. They now need to build from that, and as you mentioned, start to take away points from those who are at the top of the table and middle of the table so they can work their way up themselves.
And the crazy thing is now, we've kind of been commentating this game for a while, and I'm talking about this grand final in particular. We've only got 3 more games on World's Edge, and then we're on to Kings Canyon. So this is going to disappear quicker than I think a lot of us are thinking, even though when we started it, we were like, wow, 16 games, that's a lot of games to get through. But now there's not so many left as we're about to head into our 10th game of our grand final. And I feel like the team in the chasing pack maybe didn't have the game that they would have wanted there. So I'm certainly keeping my eyes on the likes of Nasky, Strafe, and Dell and Luminosity in this game to see if they can pick up those KP, pick up a big placement points, even a win here to really blow open this leaderboard as far as that first place is concerned.
Yeah, we also have to look at the likes of Ad Hoc Gaming and how they struggled in that game. That wasn't the start they would have wanted, considering they were in 3rd place. And I said that they were kind of one of the leaders of the chasing pack behind the two front runners of Alliance and North. But losing that man early really didn't help them at all. They tried to survive and they tried to just kind of drag themselves through, but it didn't work out. I mean, there were Nasky, Strafe, and Dow who did a lot better at that. They lost the early man, and they were still able to climb into the top 10. They were kind of playing that survivor game. They were just trying to avoid all those shots and avoid the different angles, but eventually your time runs out. Eventually someone spots you, and as soon as one team spots you and starts shooting at you, everyone else goes, oh, there's a team over there that's just some free KP, and then suddenly everyone else in the lobby is shooting at you as well, and it becomes a real struggle.
Now, for Alliance fans who are watching right now, and we welcome you along. We love the fact that you're joining us here today. Hopefully they're going to put their hands together in unison here, because they have had a rough time on World's Edge as far as circles are concerned. So I'm pretty sure that they're all going to be hoping that they have one of those southern circles in our second game of the day here on World's Edge. This is, of course, the results from our first game there. And Flavor of the Month, big performance from them. But Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, North 3rd Impact, actually put a few more points on the board than I imagined there in the chasing pack.
Yeah, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell picking up 5 KP whilst only being 2 players for the majority. Alliance actually dropped in 11th in the end. Excuse me, I thought they were a little bit sooner, but they did fall during that cull of teams that happened all at once. SJP2 still are on pretty much a bit of a struggle bus. That's now their 4th game in a row where they've struggled since they found those back-to-back victories. So something clearly not right in the SJP2 camp. And this is how things look overall then. So North starting to create a little bit of a gap now between themselves and Alliance, a 9-point difference. But we are starting to see a change in that middle of the table. 3rd Impact have now leapfrogged over LG. SJP2 are being caught up by the likes of Nasky, Strafe, and Dell and Nessie. And look how much Nessie have jumped up.
Yeah.
They were down in like 15th spot, but now they're right up into 9th. And suddenly it looks somewhat manageable for them to get potentially a top 3. Yes, okay, it's still going to be very difficult, and they'll need North to fall off if they were to get a victory, like overall victory in a championship here. But it's still very doable if they can continue to find first place.
We still got a load of games ahead of us. I keep saying that it's going to disappear quickly, but that doesn't change the fact that we still have a lot of games here in day 2 of our grand finals. And for that team in the chasing pack, 1 win. We just saw 24 points on the board. If you can put a game like that together, you can catapult yourself up the leaderboard. As we start with a little bit of a party here in game number 2, as we jump on board to Mirage Voyage with our winners of the last game. A pretty healthy loot table over here at Mirage Voyage, and we just want to see that circle, to be honest with you. I'm sure that all the teams that are at the south side of World's Edge are just praying for a southern circle, and there we go. Down to the southwest, Lava City and the Dome seem to be pretty popular areas to potentially take home here, Dan.
Funnily enough, that is southeast rather than southwest, but we've been through this a few times.
I need to stop spinning around on my chair when I'm commentating.
It is slightly off. I mean, it's fine. You think you maybe live in the southwest of England, but you don't. You live in the southeast of England, Mark. That's where you are.
I don't know where I live.
I don't know who I am anymore, but yes, that is a much better circle for these teams at the southern side of the map. We've seen a couple of dome finishes, both in EMEA and in the Americas, actually. And it does favor these teams who are able to set up early and get into some of these high advantage points.
Na'Vi once again going to be involved in a fight here, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's with Lava City Boys, as these two teams have been going at it constantly here on World's Edge. And hey, look at that. It is indeed Lava City Boys, and it looks like at the moment that Kath Ryan is in all sorts of trouble, and his troubles are going to be ended. But unfortunately for him, in the worst way possible, as Lava City Boys will be eliminated immediately at the start of our second game of the day here. Na'Vi, that's a big confidence boost for them, and not only that, a clean wipe means all players will be revived. They'll be pretty confident, and they have 3 KP and 3 points on the board.
Yeah, and they can loot up somewhat more comfortably now, rather than having Lava City Boys just breathing down their neck and trying to take off any of their loot that they would have found beforehand. But with that circle, that means those teams who are dropping in the northern parts of the map, they're going to have to start thinking about a rotation sooner rather than later, because the later they do rotate, the more likely they are going to be running into those teams in the central parts of the map, maybe gatekeeping and just looting up a little bit longer, rather than going for an early rotation themselves. As you can see now with Pathfinder's help, it is going to be even further southeast towards Dome and between Lava City. And I still find it strange, by the way, that Lava City Boys aren't dropping in Lava City, by the way, Mark.
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of a backstory to that we don't quite know, but maybe they just hate Na'Vi. Maybe that's the answer to all of this, and they just decided to drop on them every single game. But as unfortunately, and we did see them eliminated early in this game, Na'Vi are going to now start their rotation. And you saw a couple of pings there about where that end circle can be. And rotation is going to be absolutely vital here, because as that circle does start to close, you can see it's going to be choke points that you're going to have to work through, and really, really difficult ones to do as well. This one from Geyser towards Lava City. And also as it gets even smaller, as we saw on the Pathfinder beacon, working their way through those vault tunnels, it's going to be a tough one to get into if you're being gatekept from those teams who have already made that rotation. So you can see why North are so desperate, maybe just to hit that Geyser, get through this choke, and try and get towards Lava City.
Yeah, just having a little bit of a scout around, avoiding the team that is already up towards in the choke. Instead, they're going to go for a more adventurous route around and hope they won't come into another team here. But they definitely want to get an early rotation here. As speaking of early rotations and early setups, Vibant are very much in prime position right now. This circle could end up very close to where they currently reside, and even if it's not exactly where they are, they're going to have pretty good information with a Pathfinder beacon quite close to them they could utilize if they're able to win this little kerfuffle around. It does look like another team is going to be in Dome with them.
Well, here's Nasky, Strafe, and Dell making their rotation from Fragment East, and Dell's taking a few shots here. Can he get into the void? No, he cannot. And he will be taken down, and now it's all up to Nasky to hit some huge shots with this Mastiff to save things for his team, but no. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell will be eliminated second in our second game of the day. Huge for implications in this game.
Flavor of the month in a pretty good spot as well. They can be shot from several different angles, but Pierre, again with that charge rifle, is just really being a thorn in the side of so many teams. Flavor of the month, I think we have to keep an eye on throughout the entirety of these matches, because they look a little bit different today. They look like they really want this. Although, as I say that, Pierre falls, and you need to make sure you get him up fairly quickly. But good work from Taylor just to ensure that he scouts around to make sure no one gets any easy shots on the team as they do get this res.
Yeah, we can see the major pushes have been eliminated as well on their rotation. Outsiders maybe looking to put some pressure onto Flavor of the Month here. And this is a zone really built for Flavor of the Month, right? They drop in Lava City. We've seen them win games or put up top 2, top 3 placements when they hold that truck down, when we see it moving towards the dome. So certainly keeping an eye on Flavor of the Month too. And I kind of expect them, to be honest with you, to make it into at least that top 5 here with the experience they have of this circle. But Outsiders kind of just playing around these rocks outside of the dome at the moment, trying to control that high ground with your Silter on the Pathfinder and a scout in his hand as well. Should be able to back off a few teams, and you can see where he's aiming there. That's the last place you really want to be rotating, up that horrible hill with barely any cover. The quicker you can get through that, the better, but it looks like for North, and it's going to take them a little bit longer than they would have wanted.
Yeah, they're just keeping an eye on their backsides to make sure no one else is following them up this kind of hill of doom right now, and they are trying to fire some shots back, but here comes a team getting a little bit aggressive now, saying, oh, well, we might see some free KP here, but the rest of North saying, okay, no, we need to get out of dodge now, utilize the portal, get that Wraith ultimate down. I know you want it later on, but instead you have to use it to survive here. You can't sacrifice these placement points this early, especially as really, you're going to have a target on your back as North. I think if someone sees you down and they see that it's going to be a North member eliminated, I reckon people are going to actually try and jump on you and take you out, because if you can take out the front runners, that gives you a better chance of winning this overall lobby.
Well, Lions are in a pretty good spot here. I talked about how they were kind of looking to the heavens and hoping for a ring that would help them a little bit in our second day of action here in the grand finals on World's Edge, and they've got that now. They've got control of the dome building. You can see IPN set up in there with Vase. And now we're going to actually jump over because there's more fighting going on. It's in the train station within Lava City here in Third Impact. No surprise. I think they just got reset from that totem. So it looks like the initial push from them wasn't as successful as they would have wanted.
Still got the possibility here, though, of going for another push as Arnold Schwarzenegger just has a little peep out. As you do, production always catching me off guard whenever I don't expect it. They make me laugh as one of the player falls there. And Flavor of the Month look to try and pick up the scraps here on this fight. Again with Piet, charge rifle in hand, just being a pain.
Am I awake? Like, I just see Arnold Schwarzenegger just appear on the screen for...
The thing is, I have no idea if that goes
am
out
I
on stream.
Is this, am I okay? Or is that
Does
like...
it go out on stream, or is this just something I'm
Yeah,
seeing
it goes
on
out
my
on
end?
stream. Like, all right, I'm just going to take it down. I'm going to take a few moments here just to compose myself.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right, you look after yourself.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he was there. Someone else is also here is Pierre.
But why was he there, Dan?
I don't know why he was there.
Sorry, I'm over it. Anyway, back on board with Flavor of the Month, and Pierre still leveling up that Evo shield, and one more shot for him with this charge rifle that hits pretty hard, and he should have a full red Evo shield to work with. And they love playing this position right, because you have that high ground over all these teams who are going to rotate into Lava City, take a little bit of that real estate, and then wait for that next ring pool. So they're going to be able to just rack up damage on these teams coming in, and hopefully for them, that's why they play this truck. They can pick off those teams as they move in, and KP should fall their way.
Should is always the word, but it's whether it actually does. You've always got to go under the presumption of what should happen, but we know how Apex Legends things can change and sometimes won't go your way. As SJP2, they have been on the back of quite a struggle bus streak, really. 4 games in a row where they finished in the bottom 5 now. And Cooler Esports look like they want to actually take advantage of that and get aggressive on SJP2, but they need to be careful because there are plenty of teams over towards that dome that you see in the distance. And as soon as you start lighting up another team, you're going to bring so much attention to yourselves on the map. But the engagement has started. A couple of bullets have been fired as SJP2 continue to retreat here.
Yeah, Cooler, I kind of like what they've done here. They got the damage done and they've moved up immediately, because that choke to move through is absolute hell for teams as we enter the later game. So the fact that they've managed to at least get themselves kind of halfway through is certainly a positive for them to take away. SJP2 have managed to scarper away themselves here to the backside of Dome, when the building just open for them to work through as well. So they're going to be pretty comfortable just inside that next circle as well. Na'Vi inside of Lava City here, just controlling that first floor and the little room above it as well. So you can see 17 squads now, and with Lava City being a big part of this first circle, you're also going to see a little cheeky player in the corner. Oh my God, the Revenant hasn't seen him. Watson, shh.
She's just part of the furniture at this point.
How have they not
the shelf.
They
You
not-
are the box.
Do it. Blast. How are they? No, he looked at him. What? Wait, what? Na'Vi? Have they not seen him? Are you blind, Claus? Are you blind? This has been a weird game. Arnold Schwarzenegger and now this.
Maybe Blasts is Arnold Schwarzenegger at this point. And in a second, he's about to burst out and shout, "Get to the chopper!" and then just kill them all. That's what I want to see, but instead he's actually just going to put a couple of fences around that portal.
If there was a Spitfire on the ground, because that's the chopper, right? And then he went for the chopper, he picked it up. I mean, that could have been the play. Why didn't you do that? God damn it. Sometimes things just don't fall into place the way you want them to.
Crypto doing crypto things and having a little scout around as there's a little bit of silence across this battlefield now, Mark. Everyone just waiting for this next circle. But as I say that, here comes the aggression and here comes the push. And Na'Vi have been able to scout out and actually see the players that are in this building this time. But can they pick up the KP?
So shielding coming in here from Na'Vi, getting up to full health once again, having held off that little push. And you can see the defensive capabilities sometimes overlooked coming in from the Revenant as well. Being able to hit the silence on those doors just kind of stops those teams wanting to push. And then now you're going to see the other side of the coin. You're going to see those aggressive tendencies that he can bring. And here comes the big push coming in. Watson fences are going to be set up though, but the EMP is going to hit, and it's going to hit hard here onto Nessie, the winners of our Game 9, the first game that we saw here on broadcast today. And it looks like Na'Vi are going to try and push onto this. Unfortunately for them, they get absolutely cracked by JMW with that Mastiff, and that's just going to slow things down for them. But the second wave might come in here, or even a third party. But it looks like Na'Vi just going to slow things down. They knew that didn't work the way they wanted, and that's smart play with the Revenant as well.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head earlier perfectly, saying that you've just got to know how to execute these pushes with the Revenant, and sometimes you have to just cut your losses and say, all right, well, this didn't really work out. Let's reset and let's wait for the next one, rather than to force something and risk our lives and risk some placement points. And considering they are in a good spot and in a good building right now, they don't really need to be getting too aggressive and look for something. Nessie definitely struggling right now, constantly healing up, constantly having bullets flying into their backside, as we've lost 4 teams now, the latest being Exorcism. Still with those teams, some of the teams that are lower down in the leaderboards, still looking to perform a little bit better in today's action.
Nice wingman shots here from RPR. I talked about how good his wingman is yesterday, and he's showing it once again here. So confident in those long to middle range shots, and even up close, he's absolutely deadly with it. He's trying to just scope out this area at the moment, as North have managed to take complete control of this vault tunnel complex. So they're going to be pretty good, and just trying to catch these teams rotating from the edge of circle, maybe through Sorting Factory, and popping out to see some of those teams who are kind of moving through that no man's land area up towards Dome. And Alliance are at the top of that, as they're overlooking these teams that are just to the east of them at the moment. Double check there to make sure that I got my directions right, and I did. Very proud of myself. IPN, nice shots with the scout there, but not getting any downs that you'd be looking for.
Look, give it up. You're not going to hit the shots. You're just wasting bullets at this point. Thank you. Yeah, for too long. I just, sometimes I don't feel like you need to be trying to hit those shots from that distance, especially when you don't have much light ammo to work with. But maybe the rest of the team does, so perhaps that's why he's going for it. It's Figvam now in a little bit of a engagement here, but it looks like they've just backed down from that fight. And of course, having that caustic is going to really put off anyone from pushing them. It's Lazarus
is above them.
Mark.
Here's Lazarus, like you say. There's going to be Ida here on his new tag of Anime Lover. Shout out to you. Trying to hold off this push here, just pre-aiming that stairwell with the R99 in hand. As the circle is going to move in, they are safe here, but I think they're just looking to see if they can pick off any of these teams who are going to be making that move. And Na'Vi, one of those teams who are making a move at the moment, as Claus takes over as the kill leader here, as he takes down JMW, and I think that was graceful as well. So Lazarus Esports, I think, they're going to be pretty comfortable for a second here, but just checking their back as there is other teams around. They need to be careful here, because those teams rotating in from Lava City are certainly going to make them pay if they take their eye off the ball.
Na'Vi do get the res, and they just are trying to survive now. Medkits being dropped and being shared about. 1 minute 35 before they're going to have to make their move, but they're well aware of plenty of teams around them. And it is third impact, and I think third impact, they want some of this. They want to get aggressive. The Crypto Welt comes through, and now here comes the push as well. ArcStars to boot to try and take down anyone's shields and maybe be able to push in. There's plenty of damage being done, but no knocks as of yet. And now third impact are being shot from elsewhere. They've got to be very careful. Ziki does find 2, and that is Na'Vi losing 2 of their players. But maybe we see some real damage being done here, as Balonji is going to be the final player from third impact.
Yeah, he's going to get the armor swap here as well, and it's a 1v1 situation. And this was a Revenant Crypto comp versus a Revenant Crypto comp, and you can see player dropping down here trying to get the armor swap. The only problem is, I'm pretty sure that armor was broken, so he's not going to be able to get that one off. That was the box, I believe, that Balonji did actually swap to himself, but now he's coming under fire from that third party, having to jump away himself with barely any HP, puts the silence down, and the question is a team going to push him? Yes, they are. And third impact and Na'Vi, both of our Revenant teams, will be eliminated as they took that fight with each other. Figvam were happy to come and finish it off.
It was just a one player from Figvam as well that came through. Xander will probably go and get those banners, but I don't think he's going to be picking anything up at this point. So it's just about trying to survive as yourself, as a Caustic, as we're down to 11 squads. Third impact Na'Vi eliminated, you can see on the right-hand side, Cooler and Finalized, and Nessie also fell a little bit sooner. So no back-to-back victories for Nessie at this point, but a team that we have to continuously focus on is North, our front runners in this tournament. The consistency has been incredible from them. They still have a little bit of a way to go into this next circle, so they're kind of just scouting out to see if anyone is going to be coming from behind here before they actually progress their way into the next, but they are going to be running straight into outsiders here.
Yeah, this is a super tough rotation. This is what I mean about this dome finish. If you don't get in here early, then you're going to have to fight your way forward in an uphill battle. And RPR is the man who is trying to lead the charge here against outsiders, looking at the kill feed as well. And Flavor of the Month picking up some more KP themselves, as RPR is going to have his shields knocked down. But the gold shield is going to mean that all he has to do is pop a cell to get a decent amount of HP back on the board. But outsiders backed up here, and they've been controlling this high ground for so long, as now we're going to see the big yeet in from Yasilta. Can he finish off these kills on North? He hits 1, he hits 2. That's going to be 2 downs as Tashin is taken down.
The great yeet of 2020 now is outsiders down to just 2, and they are going to be able to heal up ever so slightly, but Flavor of the Month also getting somewhat involved here and trying to do a little bit of damage. Again, they've just been a real nuisance throughout the entirety of these games. Flavor of the Month very good at positioning themselves in a way where they can get some shots and land some bullets, potentially pick up KP, but also very much keeping the next circle in mind.
The Flavor of the Month, who have been in control of this circle for the majority of this game, as Ad Hoc Gaming have actually made their way in, and it was Alliance, I believe, who have just been eliminated, as well as North. So the two top teams at the top of our table, try saying that 3 times fast, have been eliminated in this game. So for the chase impact, that is absolutely huge. The likes of Ad Hoc Gaming, the likes of Luminosity, really do have an opportunity to close that gap here in this second game of the day. Nice shots with the 2 times wingman from Kuya as well. He's really started to make this gun his own.
Yeah, if Ad Hoc Gaming can come out with a victory here, they can close that gap between themselves and the top 2. Having that Bloodhound means you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. The extra information you get from that legend, and they certainly want some of this, using all of their utility now, all the grenades coming out to try and do as much damage as possible before they push in for the fight. And I think they are actually just going for this KP because they know going into the next circle is going to be quite risky for them, and they may die to the teams that already have taken up residency inside that dome area.
7 squads remaining there, and unfortunately for this player, he's kind of been caught out, but unfortunately Flavor of the Month just couldn't land the shots necessary to get the down on that player. Just as I say that, they do manage to knock Kuya, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Ad Hoc Gaming to keep rotating. They're on the outside of the circle here. The Gibraltar bubble will go up, and it looks like Flavor of the Month have managed to just about sneak inside of this circle. Have they? No! The area that they wanted is not inside, and now it's going to force Pierre to make that grapple in just to survive here for Flavor of the Month.
He thought about going for one of those boxes and maybe going for the armor swap, but it looks like potentially they've done enough now to survive. Vibin are having a little scout around to see if they can see anyone scurrying around under these buildings and see if they get a couple of shots off, but as Nyze is doing so, he gets shot in the backside as well and is going to have to go straight back into this building, and we're down to just 4 squads now, Mark. And Vibin are one of those who have had this position for quite some time here.
Yeah, Luminosity Gaming were taken out in all of that. You can see the teams that we do have remaining, and there's Outsiders popping back in. Good job from the team tracker there, just to make sure that we kept track of that solo player. So you have 3 full teams alive, vibing inside of this building where they've been holding down Resonance for the entirety of our Game 10 here. Flavor of the Month still in the game as well. They have lost Taylor in this battle. However, they are pretty close to the circle to rotate to themselves, as a player's going to have a cheeky little poke round that corner. But the only problem for Vibe in here, even though they've had a great position for the majority of this game, they don't have the armor to go alongside if some of these teams that have been fighting for a little bit longer, as Pierre gets a little bit greedy there and almost gets taken down himself.
Yeah, even though Flavor of the Month are down to just 2, the armor in itself still means they are in a strong position. They just need to ensure that they are not the first ones to take a fight in this final 3-squad battle, as Outsiders have lost that Rat and Mistral, and it means we do have our last 3 as this circle is about to close, Mark.
So 1 second until the action is about to kick off, and SJP2 are very much in position to win this game right inside that circle. Denze picks up 1. Nyes now with the devotion needs to get at least a knock with this. Unfortunately for him, he does not, and this surely has to be the end here. Vibin just throwing everything they can forward. SJP2 holding their ground, and as it turned into a 1v1, it's a 2v1, and unfortunately they can't make it happen. But for SJP2, they hold that ground beautifully, and they will pick up their 3rd win of our grand finals.
Yeah, and considering they have had quite a streak of bad games, it's about time that they pick things up and showed that they still are going to be in this competition. They still are a threat for those front runners. They needed that, not just for the confidence in themselves, but maybe just to scare off the other competitors too, to say, look, we've now picked up 3 victories. We're up there with Alliance. We do have the possibility to win this tournament. And I think SJP2 make a big statement there.
Yeah, they needed to. As you said, it's difficult to bounce back sometimes when you have not just 1 or 2 games back-to-back, but 3, and it's starting to go on a 4. You're like, what's going wrong here after such a good performance? But as you say, they've answered back absolutely perfectly here. This is the battle, once again, that we can pretty much guarantee is going to happen every single time that we jump over to Fragment West at the start of this game. But this was one of the most ridiculous. How do you not see him? Like, you literally staring at him there. That was the strangest play I think I've seen so far in Apex Legends.
He was easier to see than Arnold Schwarzenegger was on this broadcast. That's all I'm going to say. It was so comfortable. Then this was the big push from Outsiders, and some decent KP picked up from them, but then they lost a couple of players, and it was just a rat down to it. Ad Hoc Gaming, unfortunately, weren't able to get into this next circle successfully, and that's why we saw them have the aggression outside of this previous circle. But it was SJP2 who were just comfortably waiting for the other teams to push them. And credit to the others, they did make a bit of a fight of it, but unfortunately SJP2 just too strong in terms of their equipment and in terms of their armor. They were able to finish it off somewhat comfortably.
Pretty easy finish there, as you see the 2 players alive inside the Gibraltar bubble. One of them pretty much with a full complement of health, even though he was cracked a little bit by that massive shot that did fly in. But the interesting thing again is there was a real opportunity for those chasing teams to make a dent on those top 2 teams. But I just feel like none of them really took that opportunity there, Dan. You had Ad Hoc Gaming, you had Flavor of the Month, you had you had Flavor of the Month, you had Ad Hoc Gaming still involved in that chasing pack, but none of them, unfortunately, could get the job done. The question now is, can they do it in the next game? We'll have to find out, as we have 2 more games on World's Edge coming your way just after this. Welcome back, everybody, once again to the GLL Masters Summer with myself, Dan Gaskin, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Looking forward to the next game, and of course, SJP2 were the winners of our previous one. Dan, we had a celebrity appearance, we had some craziness in our previous game, but I just want to see what the leaderboards are looking like, to be honest with you, because it was kind of a strange game as far as the teams that were at the top of the table and the chasing pack were concerned. So where those points are going to be shared out is going to have somewhat of an impact and maybe close the gap between some of those mid-table teams.
I've decided the perfect crossover would be Arnold Schwarzenegger singing "Show Me the Money," and then I will be happy and the stream will be complete. But yeah, you're right. Like the front runners going out, like North and Alliance both getting eliminated around the same time, opened up for the rest of the pack to catch them up a little bit. And I still think they would have closed that gap somewhat slightly, but the only team really who took advantage of it was SJP2. They were down in 6th prior, so now they might be able to like start to leap up a little bit and start to get a little bit closer to those top 2. But the fact that North dropped off in that game just means that this tournament is still there for the taking. There's still 6 matches left. Anything can happen, and this is not a certainty by all means.
Yeah, we'll take a look at those leaderboards in just a second as well to see how those points have shook out. But we've got 6 games remaining still. This is the last 2 now on World's Edge before, of course, we move over to Kings Canyon to see how things do pan out. And those final games on Kings Canyon are certainly going to be some crazy ones with teams desperately trying to chase down some of those points that we have left. Hopefully we can have a look at those standings as soon as possible, and we'll bring them up for you as soon as we can. But SJP2 was extremely impressive here, and we will see that at the top of the leaderboards here as they picked up 10 kills on their way to that first place as well. So 22 points on the board. You talked about them bouncing back. Well, there's a great way of doing it. And Na'Vi up in 4th place as well. Big game from them.
Yeah, huge game from several teams, really. But look at Na'Vi's placement points. They had 1 point in terms of placement, but they picked up 9 KP, which is what's important. Like, if they can continue with this aggression, with this composition that they're running, if they can have that one game where they also get the placement points, then there's no reason why they can't start to catch up a lot of these teams that are at the top end of the leaderboard. A disappointing performance for Nessie, of course, after their previous victory. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell not able to do anything in that game either. And then just a couple of like average performances for a lot of the middle teams. But look at that for SJP2. They do start to catch up a little bit. They are now 17 points off of North, which is very much manageable. And they're only 7 points off Alliance.
Yeah, 10 points the gap now between North and Alliance at the top, but look below that, 88, 81, 79, 70, 70. It really couldn't be closer. Even third Impact there, 67, 64 on Flavor of the Month. It might sound obvious, but you can see how close it is between that chasing pack, and we saw the impact of a win yesterday for North, and I really do feel like it's a similar scenario here for all of those teams. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, though, I do start to feel now that they need a couple of wins on the board here, a couple of really big games and these next games on World's Edge to put themselves back in contention, because they've been a little bit disappointing in those first couple of games so far today.
I would say, yeah, anyone in this top 10 can say, if we can win 2 of these remaining games, that gives us a chance, because majority of the time when people have been winning, they've been picking up some decent KP as well. We've seen like kind of 20 to 25 points on the board after a victory. If you can get 2 of those, suddenly that's 50 odd points, and you are very much in contention for taking the championship here and getting that prize money for yourself. But it's easier said than done, because of course those other teams will be trying to compete for that first spot as well. And the consistency we've seen from the top teams means that they'll still be picking up points there or thereabouts, even if they're not getting those victories. But this is all still very, very tight, very difficult to call. North, of course, are still the favorites just because they have that advantage. But another couple of games where they drop early and then suddenly they won't be the front runners, Mark. That's good. I always enjoy a scapegoat. That's exactly what everyone needs. But we're still on with SJP2 after their victory, and it is going to be another northeastern circle. They're up towards Epicenter and Refinery. So again, quite a similar game to what we've seen. I think we've seen maybe 2 or 3 of these, if not 4 or 5, to be honest, throughout these finals. So this is really benefiting teams that are towards Refinery and towards Overlook, for example.
Yeah, it's going to be another circle, which is going to be pulling up there, like you say, and it seems like it's more often than not at the moment we are seeing that Epicenter Refinery ending. We'll have to see where this one does end. Only a little bit of survey camp involved, so it looks like it's going to be pulling more towards that high ground as we have a look on the right-hand side of our screen and see the trials being completed again by SJP2 to get their hands on that loot. But let's jump over and see one of the other teams who might be rotating. Let's have a look at someone like North, for example, who are over at even better, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, who of course land central to the map, and they need a big performance in this game, Dan. And they've actually got a little bit to work with here. Purple armor, blue armor, and a white. Much better than what we've seen them with previously.
Yes, a lot better. I mean, you were saying that they just had been really struggling with the armors that they have been finding, and I think they'll be way happier, and especially with where this circle is going, they can quickly try and rotate early and take prime position here to where they think the circle might end up. They've got enough to work with in terms of their weaponry and their armor, but another team who also wanting to try and get into one of those positions is North. You can see the early rotate coming out for so many of these teams here.
You can see they're just slowing down for a second here just to see where North is going to be rotating into, and then just making their decision about what building or area they want to try and lock down themselves. So smart play there from North, just making sure they're all running together as a three, as a pack, before they make that move. Because the last thing you want to do here for North is have one of those games where you get eliminated early, especially against a team like Nasty Strafendale, such an individually talented team. You don't want to be taking that team fight very early on.
Definitely not. I mean, that's what I was alluding to earlier when I was saying that kind of these teams know which areas to avoid now and which routes to take so they can get away from some of these teams who maybe would get the one up on them if it was going to be a straight 3v3 fight, and instead try and get into a situation where you can be that third party. As Exorcism are going to be here comfortably in the train station of Refinery. With the way the circles have been going, this has been like just really a hot spot for a lot of teams trying to get. So I like the fact that they are just going to make sure they can rescue this one player who got caught off guard here.
Yeah, going to get the portal down and get him back up top. Unfortunately, I think he just fell down in that situation. Nasty Strafendale with the team, I believe, who did get involved in that fight. And the Sentinel in hand here is just going to narrowly miss that Wraith. But they've got control of this compound now, just to the east of Refinery. They're going to have to work their way in, or maybe they're just going to play from this position. Maybe they think it might be actually finishing where they are at the moment. We have seen that circle as well here on World's Edge, but Exorcism just going to be swapping some armors and charging themselves back up to full health after that Watson did get knocked down early on. But no players have been taken out of the game yet. Still 20 squads remaining, still a full complement of players in this lobby, as North have decided to go up top here and maybe take advantage of this EMP that's coming in, and we're actually going to be sliding down for just a second. But Mandy should be able to get back up top here and get an angle on this fight, and a good opportunity for them to 3P. Speaking about third impact, or third imp cat, as I've just seen they are called in the overlay, are using that Crypto Revenant to get involved in that fight, and they will clean out Exorcism from this top area.
Clean them out, take it off them, and they can take up residence and comfortably wait for this circle to come in. And I think we'll see a couple of these fights actually happen where a few teams will say, oh, that looks like a nice spot to reside in. Let's take that one off you, as North are going to be in this little cone. And it's not a bad place to be. We have seen a circle end just right on the edge of it, and actually how influential that can be when you have the inside of it, just a little bit of cover, and then push out for that final circle. This spot's always an intriguing one as well, Mark. Of course, obviously you get the Pathfinder beacon, but you are very vulnerable to several different positions of being shot at if you are trying to peek and get information. If you're up here, I feel like you have to just kind of hide away and just accept that you're not going to be able to do too much.
Yeah, it's a difficult area to get angles, but you do have that huge height advantage, so you should be able to peek and get some damage down and then maybe look to drop. But I think they're playing for that next beacon as well, just to see where that one's going to be moving. We'll have to check in with them in just a few moments and see how they do play that one. But Nessie, the winners of our first game of the day here, in day number 2 of our grand finals for the EMEA region, are going to make their rotation as well. And they're taking a much wider rotation here, just around the west of Survey Camp, as they move their way towards Refinery as well.
Lava City boys, I mean, they were second to bottom when we actually came into the tournament today, into the finals today, as Na'Vi now showing their aggression yet again with this composition. And they are going to pick up some KP to work with. And, I mean, we know they can do this, Mark. We know they can get this KP. We know they can pick up the kills, but can they actually get the placements, as maybe things aren't quite working out for them here? One of them has dropped, and they need to make sure that they can rescue this. Otherwise, this will not be the attack they were expecting.
Yeah, and I think it's a Revenant versus Revenant situation here. Faizu's going to get rezzed back up, so at least he can rejoin the battle, but he's not going to be able to do it immediately as the shots are ringing out, and you can see the 9imps here, he's currently silenced himself. He does have a little bit of death protection to work with here, Claws, but that's going to wear off as well. So Na'Vi doing a pretty good job there to hold off that push from the Revenant team and get back up to full health after initiating that push themselves. And that's something that they've kind of fallen short to a few times today. They had that really good initial push, pitched up those KP, but other teams have been able to capitalize on that healing process that they've had to undergo after winning that fight and taking advantage. But they did a great job there to amend some of the wrongs from earlier and hold off that third party.
Something that's difficult to do as well, right? If you get third party by a team, it's not as easy just to turn around and fend them off, as you say. A lot of the time you are going to struggle because you haven't been able to heal up accordingly. You haven't been able to get those armor swaps. SJP2, after their victory, they've lost one player at the moment, or at least the one player is down, and there is going to be a push coming out from the opposition team here, but decent work and some decent shots and a decent down. Metafe is going to fall, and that's going to be Ad Hoc Gaming who are looking to try and get a little piece of SJP2 here.
Yeah, great wingman shots. If you're beating Metafe in a straight 1v1, you know that you've been hitting some big shots. Last player alive here for Ad Hoc Gaming is trying to get away, but it's not going to happen. And that's going to be a clean wipe here, but here comes the third party. CBAC still not been revived here. The Gibraltar as Cooler Esports are the team who are overlooking the team within Survey Camp and trying to get that third party. It looks like they're looking to get a little bit more aggressive here. The portal's going to be going down, but it looks like they have managed to get CBAC back up here, the Gibraltar. And they will have that defensive bombardment going down just to allow them to get those heals back off.
Shame to see Ad Hoc Gaming going down so early, especially as they are in the chasing pack. But SJP2 now potentially could leapfrog them if they can have a good game, and they can start thinking about maybe a top 3 position, if not a top 2, or a, who knows, maybe even a championship victory as well. As Revenant just looks so stupid when he's crawling around. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to throw this out there. Ah, poor little rat. Balanji is going to be the rat spotted out there, desperately trying to survive, but it's not really going to work out. I mean, it's great if he can find a position here, Mark, and if he can survive, like, you'd think he can get into a decent spot, but unfortunately, it seems like every corner he goes, there's someone else having a little look-see.
Yeah, it's going to be third impact out, and I think when Revenant's kind of crouch walk in, obviously he has that speed boost in comparison to other characters. It kind of looks like, you know, when you're like 10 years old and you used to sneak down to the kitchen to steal food at 2 a.m. That's basically what I would look like doing that. But Outsiders now trying to put some shots across with the wingman. Nice headshot there, 71 from Yasilta. He's going to back that team down. This is such a strong position we talked about yesterday as well. Not only controlling the low ground underneath, but the top of the silos. So they've got plenty of areas to work from. And one area that is trying to be worked here is just to the west of Refinery. And you can see Alliance are that team trying to move in. And IPN on the Gibraltar has the charge rifle as well. Hackers is trying to get aggressive here with some arc stars being thrown into that bubble, just waiting for that moment to throw it as that bubble is going to be going down. But now they're in trouble because Lava City Boys have managed to get the knock, and there's a couple of teams involved in this fight. IPN now trying to get out. Can he hit the portal that Hackers has put down? It looks like Lava City Boys are actually going to catch them off guard, but here comes, I believe, Na'Vi as well to get involved in this fight.
SJP2 are there, like everyone just having a little piece of this. Alliance down to just one, and Hackers now is going to have to do his best to try and survive. SJP2 will wipe Lava City Boys, so Lava City Boys not having much fun on World's Edge today, whereas SJP2 seem to be asserting their dominance over several different squads. The confidence clearly flowing through them with how they're playing at the moment. Even though they don't have one of those more aggressive compositions, they are still showing aggression at the right times, and I think that's what's important.
Evo shield now on to Kim Zhu, but he's actually going to swap that one over just for a regular purple shield. Doesn't fancy taking the time to level up that Evo. Feel it's more efficient to work with the purple. We're going to have a look at our team tracker as well. You can see Alliance now out, so a disappointing game from them, and I think they might be one of the teams who are a little bit frustrated with that restart and how that circle was changed from one they might have felt they had a better rotation to again this very northeasterly circle over by Refinery. Lava City Boys third impact, Ad Hoc Gaming and Exorcism being taken out. So now this is an opportunity for the likes of Nasky, Strafendale and Luminosity to chase the top of the table teams, but also North still involved in this fight and a chance for them to extend that lead at the top.
We'll see when this next circle goes. This could be big for major pushes because they've got the caustic traps already set up here, and next circle is going to be comfortable for them. It is starting to shift towards the other side slightly, towards Epicenter. And it could end up finishing right dead center of that circle, right on the cliff edge, which is why you see a lot of those pings, and it's where you see a lot of teams trying to set up in the early stages. You just do leave yourself so vulnerable to being pincered by teams coming from Epicenter and Refinery if you do go there too early. LG are going to be in a comfortable spot here, though, as well. With 15 squads left, they can kind of just scout the land, get an idea of where all the other teams are going to be before they eventually will have to make the decision as to whether they need to move or not. But they can wait for this next circle.
Yeah, looking for a bit of ammo as well, I think. So looking 91 bullets. Unfortunately, the R99 there for Luminosity Gaming member, but they have perfect armor to work with, pretty much a gold and 2 purples. They're going to be very happy to rotate as well, and they have access to that beacon, which I think is going to be valuable information for these teams with the unpredictability of where this circle is going to be going. You're seeing lots of different pings from different teams about where this will be ending, and don't seem confident on a hard refinery pull here. So the high ground surrounding might be the key area to be held down by these teams, and even these edge teams might be in a pretty good position to play this circle as Vibe is set up inside this building just to the south of Epicenter.
And all the teams just taking their time now, really. I think everyone just playing that waiting game and seeing if anyone is going to make the first move before they move into this next circle. Of course, some teams were near Pathfinder beacons, but you do leave yourself very exposed if you try and get that information. And of course, that information is not worth your life. Is Flavor of the Month still alive? Again, a team that I wanted to keep an eye on because they have managed 2 third-place finishes today. And if they can carry on that kind of form, there's no reason why they can't climb their way up the leaderboards.
So 15 squads remaining here. We have lost 5, but the game has slowed down a little bit now as the third circle is about to close in 14 seconds. Vibin now making their move from that building here towards the truck, and they're the team that are going to be facing up against Flavor of the Month here. So they've got to be a little bit careful in this situation because Flavor of the Month do have an armor advantage. However, some big R9 shots there onto the player is going to give them the opportunity to push, and a big crack actually coming in as well as Joke gets that Phoenix kit off, which means that he'll be able to rejoin this fight as well. And question is here, can Vibin take advantage of this situation they find themselves in? Pierre, though, with that big shot with the charge rifle is going to back them down, and that should reset this fight completely.
How does Pierre always have a charge rifle? This man, like, he loves it, and I don't blame him. If he's hitting shots like this and he can be a nuisance to the other teams, it also gives the rest of his team to have the freedom to push whilst he is just being so annoying from a distance. And just look at the information he's gathering for the rest of the team as well. Like, the shots that he's hitting are great, but he's also being able to scout out all these other areas and just make sure that they're not going to be pushed from certain angles, while the rest of the squad just need to watch out for the information that he is providing them. As the round 3 has closed, which means we move to round 4, and it shifts way back up to Refinery. So those teams who are currently in residence at Epicenter will have to move, and that gamble to Refinery has paid off.
Yeah, they're going to have to make their move. You can see how many teams are already set up inside of Refinery, and that's a hard pull, as you say. It might finish just outside on those tracks. It could finish just inside on those tracks. We'll have to see how this game pans out for these teams. Flavor of the Month, though, more than aware that there is a team behind them, so having made their move away from that battle against Vibin, now they've been challenged by another team who are now trying to rotate in, and that team is Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and I think they recognized that wasn't the position to take that fight, so now they've backed down smartly to this little compound that they've held since the start of this game. The problem for them is they are going to have to make that move in, and with so many teams already inside of Refinery, Dan, it's going to be difficult to find somewhere to play from.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they took an early gamble here by taking this particular compound. Their weapons aren't too bad, and they have somewhat decent armor to work with, so they can take fights, but they just need to pick their time wisely, because you're completely right, there's not really going to be much room for them to find in Refinery. Maybe they can find something on the outskirts of it, but Flavor of the Month will lose 1 as they're trying to make their rotation towards the next circle. Can they get North back up is the real question, or are they just going to have to get out of dodge and accept that they're going to be a 2, as Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are going to be the one team closest to them. And, well, here's Nasky. He is right up in the grill of them right now, and he's looking for blood.
Yeah, he's going to be popping through this window as well just when Dell starts to kick it, and hopefully they can finish this kill. Yes, they do, and Dell's managed to pick up a Peacekeeper as well, so not the welcoming gift I think that the last Flavor of the Month player, Pierre, did want there, and that will be Flavor of the Month, I believe, eliminated from the game. Actually, there is one player alive, excuse me. Taylor still alive as the lone rat here. He's got the R400, we're going to call this one, the R301 and the R99 combination to work with, so he's gonna have to be careful about burning through that light ammo. But Vibin's still alive, having not taken those early engagements with Flavor of the Month and kind of tiptoed their way towards this next circle. Full complement of players, and they're gonna end up faring a little bit better than Flavor of the Month, as we see now. Alliance also eliminated once again.
Yeah, that's a big chance for teams to catch up Alliance in that top 2 spot as the circle is closing, and so many teams still need to make a move here, and they're going to be so vulnerable as the execution comes out of Caustic now just to rub salt in the wounds here. Big Vamp have found themselves in residence, and well, there's going to be a lot of teams that want to try and take this little part of the building off them, but it's going to be very difficult considering they have the Caustic. Cooler are going to be right on the edge of this circle, and at least they've got some rocks to play behind here, Mark, so they're not too vulnerable from the oncoming shots of all the other teams that are going to be on top of or inside Refinery.
And you might be wondering why that finish is being used in that kind of situation where you have so many squads on top of each other, where there's third parties. Because you basically, it's a little bit quicker sometimes to do that and get that armor swap immediately than it is to actually finish off the player with that knockdown shield. So SJP2 now having to make their way in, and the Wraith's going to have to queue back into a safe little area here, which he manages to do so. And SJP2, of course, the winners of our last game, back inside now the top 12, as Nasky, Strafe, and Dell will just be eliminated in the top right-hand side of your screen. Luminosity out as well. And this is all big news here for North, who are at the top of the table at the moment and seeing all of their closest competitors eliminated.
Yeah, big news for SJP2 as well. They're going to be able to potentially leapfrog these teams if they can continue to get to the latter stages of this game. And look at the spot that North are in as well.
They're in.
This is so good because they're not vulnerable from one side of the map. There's only one team that's to the left of them in one of those pockets. So actually, they should be fine for this next circle to move in. It's just a case of whether anyone actually gets a little bit intrigued and starts to move outside this building and potentially tries to take this spot off them. Otherwise, they should be okay just to wait here for this next circle to go in and then choose their moment wisely.
Yeah, they're going to have so many teams die. I think the only team they have to be worried about here is this team you see to the right of Mandy, who are just by that door. But if they can watch that door and be pretty comfortable, then they should be in position. But what a shot that was onto Mandy. He's going to break his shields almost immediately. And from what looked like a pretty safe position here, North are going to be forced to retreat, and maybe that's going to make the team who are just inside that door get a little bit interested as well. But the hemlock shots from Tashin are pretty good themselves, and North, who were looking pretty comfortable a minute ago, all of a sudden not so comfortable, but they managed to at least win that fight, get some KP on the board. The question is that team just inside the building busy enough to delay the third party RPR be brought back up? And that's huge for North.
Yeah, North did so well to survive that oncoming pressure there, just using the utility in the best way they could. Arcstars just to stop the push being too comfortable, as major pushers now are going to be in prime position to take down potentially some of these teams who are just on the outskirts of this circle. And they are somewhat vulnerable there. And I wonder whether major pushers will look to actually try and take this or not, because they know that team is there. But look at the other team. They are just ensuring that it's not going to be a comfortable push for major pushers.
GLL Esports have lost one, and SJP2 now coming under damage as well, as two players are actually going to be dropped, and I think that might have just been SJP2 eliminated, although they might have still one player alive in the game. We'll keep an eye on that for just a few seconds. Lazarus Esports on the ultimate high ground at the moment and trying to make their approach onto this team, which is set up inside the top half of the western side of Refinery. Big shot with the Peacekeeper, but that team is Na'Vi, and they have that death totem to work with, so difficult push here if they can get that totem hit. And they will have that death protection as the silence goes out just to try and slow this push down.
SJP2 were eliminated. North were also eliminated in 8th place as well. So that opens things up for a couple of teams who maybe want to try and play catch up with our front runners right now. Just 7 squads left, and that circle is going to get very much smaller in 17 seconds. So Na'Vi need to think about when they're going to make this move. Are they going to try and go early, or are they going to try and drop on some teams a little bit later? It's the same situation for the majority of teams, to be honest. They all still have to make quite a considerable move across the map to ensure that they can get into this next circle. And Lazarus seem to have found a somewhat safe route here, and they're going to have the roof to play with.
For major pushers, they need to get their teammate up, but the only problem for them is that the ring is closing in behind them and there's fighting going down, but they've managed to swoop in just at the right time to take down outsiders. And I'm just looking at Na'Vi. They are lighting up the kill feed at the moment. They've been silenced on the roof here, major pushers, and you know who that is. It's going to be Na'Vi once again getting involved in that fight as we jump over to finalize. A little bit of a quiet start for them today, but what a day they had yesterday. Big shots with the 301 are going to crack the shields. The Gibraltar bubble will go down as well just to slow down that push, and they're going to survive for now.
Yeah, Finalize in a good spot. Gambit have fallen. Cooler have just lost one as well. So Finalize, one of the strongest squads that are still left out of the 3. And with where this next circle is going to be, they've been able to heal up, and they know that teams might be above them. And here's Lazarus Esports. They were last as we started off today's competition, but look how healthy they are in terms of their armor totals, Mark. And they've got the weapons to work with as well. And they drop down, they eliminate Cooler, and now they're going for the win.
Yeah, this should be it here for Lazarus. They have the push onto this final team alive, and they managed to take them all down in quick and clean fashion. Lazarus Esports, who, as you say, haven't had the best of tournaments so far in our grand finals, finally sparked to life, and again, an indication of how much talent that there is in this EMEA region. Even if you're bottom of the table, you can take games in our grand final. Amazing stuff from Lazarus. And yeah, that was an interesting game again. I think the leaderboards are going to be even tighter at that top half, but there was a real opportunity there, you felt, for North in that game to extend that lead. Haven't seen the likes of Luminosity, Alliance, all of those chasing teams be eliminated before they were.
Yeah, but unfortunately for North, they just weren't able to get into one of those prime positions. Yes, okay, they were at Overlook and they were close to where the circle was going to be, but they had the same problem that Nasky, Strafe, and Dell did, is they opted for one of those compounds that were slightly outside of Refinery, and instead the circle went very much towards Refinery. And once everyone else had taken residence there, it was almost impossible for anyone else to actually get inside there. So everyone just really struggled at that point, but they still picked up, what, 7th or 8th place, so it's not the end of the world for them. They still should be at the top of that table. But Lazarus Esports, I mean, they've had a 2nd place and a 1st place today. Bearing in mind they only had 2 kills in 8 matches after yesterday's play. They were finishing bottom of the pile so often, but today they just seem like a different team, Mark.
Yeah, big shots for the Hemlock here from Tashin. This was an amazing play from him individually, doing so much damage as they were left in that 2v3 situation just momentarily. Na'Vi had a really big game as well. I'm pretty sure they had a heck of a lot of KP on the board. We'll have to wait for confirmation of that, but I saw them in the feed a fair bit as well. But Lazarus here, they just were the third party, and it was perfect stuff from them. And that flatline is hitting harder and harder every time I see it used on my screen at the moment. And here was the final moments here from Lazarus, just moving in with the Mastiff. Easy stuff for them as everyone has already had their shields broken. And again, just to reiterate, the depth of talent in the EMEA region shown here again.
Yeah, I mean, the team who got absolutely stomped on yesterday are actually now winning lobbies. So that shows how closely contested this lobby is. And again, how unpredictable these lobbies are. So I really can't tell you who's going to win this entire thing. I still think probably North, but I mean, if they keep dropping points and some teams below them keep winning, then you never know.
Well, let's find out very soon. We're going to go for a break, but when we get back, it's the last game here on World's Edge before we head over to Kings Canyon. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back once again, everybody, and it's time for the last game on World's Edge before we move over to Kings Canyon. And it was Lazarus, a team who have kind of been dwelling at the bottom of the table with a big win in our last game, Dan.
It was indeed. Yeah, they were the bottom feeders. They were really struggling, had 7 points coming into today's action, but now with a 2nd place and a 1st place, they're starting to push themselves with the contention of getting into a top 10 position. So very impressed with how they have switched things up today, and they're performing a lot better than they were. But it's going to be whether they can do the same going into Kings Canyon a little bit later. But of course, one more match on World's Edge first. This is going to be how things looked in that particular game. So a 26-point game for Lazarus. Not only 12 placement points, but 14 kills to go alongside it. Really just showed how much strength they had in that particular game.
Yeah, a bit of a topsy-turvy table from what we've seen recently as well as far as the overalls are concerned, with Gambit Esports kind of returning to form. I knew that Na'Vi had a pretty good game as well. 7 kills on the board for them and some placement points to go alongside it. North, probably out of all of the teams that are just below them, you're looking at Alliance, Ad Hoc, Luminosity, and Flavor of the Month. The best performing team out of all of those at the top of the table. So the opportunity may be that they've extended that lead even more, Dan. We'll find out in just a second.
I mean, I hope so. I hope we find out in a second. I don't want another 3 lobby restart, Mark. But I'm sad to see a team like Ad Hoc Gaming go out that early, because I really thought they were going to be on the chase today. But instead, we see SJP2 move up into 2nd position, 13 points behind North. Alliance now 15 points adrift, and North still creating a little bit of a gap here. Yes, okay, we're starting to see the comeback of some of the lower teams, like Lazarus have gone from 20th up to 13th now, and they're in touching distance of that top 10. But North have still been able to do enough to keep at arm's length away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, breaking that 100-point barrier as well while they go about it. So good stuff from North there. Even though they didn't have the best of performances in that game, it was better than the chasing pack. Lazarus Esports, though, coming alive here on day 2 of our grand finals for the EMEA region. And a little bit of a welcome return to form. I think we know the amount of talent that is on this squad, and good to see them performing in these last few games.
And I'm always happy to see Roger Bodger performing well, because the way you say it always makes me giggle as well. So hopefully we'll get to see them performing consistently throughout the rest of these matches. We've still got 5 games left, so there is still plenty of time to rescue points. I mean, if you consider the fact that the people who have been winning have been getting around 20 odd points, I mean, there's still, if you can just consistently get like first, second, third, like get those top 3 round after round or match after match, there's no reason why you can't get to the top end of this leaderboard.
Well, an interesting circle here, and I'm sure that Alliance fans are rejoicing because they don't have to travel halfway across World's Edge, or should I say halfway across the entirety of the way across World's Edge here, as it is going to be pulling towards Thermal Station and Tree. The difficulty here for teams is you are going to see a little bit of a split down the middle where that mountain is, so it's kind of a 50-50 on what side you do want to take. A lot of these players will obviously have experience of this circle and know what side it is going to be pulling to, but even though you've got that experience, sometimes it does surprise you the way that circle can pull. So for Alliance here, they're going to be hitting that beacon and finding out that information themselves. And I'm sure they're going to have a big smile on their face as well after a couple of rough circles for them.
Yeah, and the Allen Ace, as we also call them, they will want to ensure that they can actually start picking up some points and try and close this gap, because North are slowly but surely getting away from them. But this circle, yeah, you can see the pings on the map. A couple of people maybe thinking it's going to be somewhere close to Thermal, just on the edge by that cliff. Not quite towards Tree, but we will see where it rotates, and maybe some people will take residence kind of around that bridge area as well. But a long old rotation for those teams who have had the benefit of the northern eastern circles. Those guys who are up at Refinery, and of course North, who usually drop towards Overlook. They'll be having to move sooner rather than later.
You can see the teams starting to make their descent up on this circle. Alliance, one of those teams who won't be able to move too far, or Ali Nance, coming along with third Imp Cat. As 2 of my favourite teams today, according to our overlay. Shout out to production, they're doing an amazing job so far. I'm sorry if I'm annoying you a little bit. I'm just winding you up. But one team who are making their descent towards that circle and have quite a long way to go is GLL Esports, obviously dropping over at Skyhook themselves. We've seen that drop from them a few times so far, making their way through Hill Valley and going to move potentially through the central map to make their way down. Just got to be careful of any teams rotating maybe on that balloon just ahead of them as well, moving from drill site. They're fairly comfortable for them at the moment. No teams engaging so far. So it looks like the Na'Vi, Lava City boys, constant battle that has been going on for almost a day and a half has finally resented. Finally, one team has backed down from that, and I do believe it is actually Lava City boys. So Na'Vi now can finally just, relax when they land over at Fragment West.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever can relax when you land, I'm not sure that landing at any point on this map is particularly relaxing, because you know that one team, all they have to do is change direction and suddenly they could be dropping on you as well. But it looks fairly even across the board throughout this game, everyone just leaving each other to their own devices, and that's a nice little purple armor that appears in the box as well.
So they're going to leave that one as a potential swap, or not even that, because
don't even need it.
It is a potential swap still, because they got a gold and 2 purples, like you're saying. Major pushers set up inside of Tree at the moment, just on these lower ground dome-type buildings, and they're looking pretty healthy as far as armor is concerned as well, and they're obviously going to be hoping that it is a Tree pull here, and I think a lot of teams are going to be wondering where this one is going to be going, and teams are going to be kind of hedging their bets on where it is. You can see that on the map overlay at the moment. Obviously, a lot more teams are going to be moving from the northeast of the map, which is why you see a lot of teams having to move through Sorting Factory. But early rotations and quick rotations from a lot of these teams, showing that they're desperate to get inside that circle.
Like, that is just evidence of how important these teams feel like the early rotation and getting prime position in the early stages is. Otherwise, they would just be playing on the edge. Some teams are still rotating in a little bit late. GLL Esports have been able to get themselves down here, and actually this isn't a bad spot to find yourselves in. There are a lot of nooks and crannies that you can hide underneath, but I'm sure they would want something a little bit more comfortable. As Na'Vi, they are another squad who've been able to pick up so many kill points, Mark, and well, maybe they're going to look for some more here. They are going to drop that totem because they have spotted a team, and it is going to be very well and truly a dive.
Here we go then, pushing in pretty aggressively. Big cracks coming in from Claws there. Great shots from him with the R9 and the Mastiff. Players are going to be reset, but because the portal is down, they can look for that secondary push. But a great hold here from outsiders, you have to say. But unfortunately for them, Mistral has gone down. But it's the Gambit who are getting involved with this, finishing off the damage that's been started here by Na'Vi. LG also getting those grenades in. So for all of the work there and the heavy lifting that Na'Vi did, they haven't really come out of it with anything to show for it.
No, Na'Vi just kind of brought attention to them on the map, and then everyone else said, actually, yeah, I'll take a piece of this, and it was grenades being thrown down, a couple of bullets being fired, and LG and Gambit both saying, thank you very much for the extra KP. We are more than happily going to take this. And this is the situation I said that I thought a couple of teams might try and get themselves in. This position on the train tracks can be a very commanding one because it allows you to rotate either side of it, depending on where the circle goes, but can also leave you quite vulnerable to teams pushing in because there's very little places to hide behind when you are in that tunnel.
Yeah, you've got to be really, really efficient and make sure that you're scouting both ends of that tunnel for teams pushing. Having the Watson fence is obviously going to help them a little bit, but as you say, going to have to keep their heads on a swivel as this game does progress. 60 seconds or so until we see that zone close. And I'm sure there's going to be a few teams who are going to be maybe looking for a late Pathfinder beacon as well to see what side that they do have to rotate to. And I think the Alliance are actually doing that at the moment. They're the team who are currently set up, as you can see, at the bottom left of your screen on that beacon building as Third Impact now. Look like they're going to get aggressive and see if they can pull off the push here with the Revenant Crypto combination.
They've definitely pinged the target location as to where they want to go. Maybe a slight bit of hesitancy there, though, as they're now turning back on themselves. Lava City Boys, another team that's running this Revenant comp, are also going to be moving towards this train spot, this train track situation. And, well, they've run into some Watson fences, so they know someone is there or thereabouts. Or at least they were.
They're long gone at this point, and now they're going to be able to move through themselves. Still 20 squads remaining and 59 players who look like outsiders actually managed to get one res off there. So at least make sure that they have 2 players left in this game. Vibing, looking to get a little bit aggressive themselves. The portal will go down as they're holding down that dome building right at the south of Tree. And it looks like they're just trying to get a little bit of a poke here with this portal and maybe try and take a fight from this team inside. Big crack there with the Mastiff who's going to really put some pain onto the Pathfinder. And that is the Pathfinder there, Mandy of North. So for the rest of the lobby, this is big, big news for them. But the question is, can they convert on this push or will they just let them get that res back up?
I'm sure when you see that a North member's gone down, you want to take them out. You want to make sure that it's not going to be an easy pickup. And Vibin do have eyes on it. They're going to make this very difficult for North to do anything about this. And there's bullets coming from the other side as well. From that north side of this little bit that they're hiding in. And Gambit, even they want to get involved. They throw a nade in. They get a crack. Everyone trying to take a piece out of North at the moment.
Well, everyone has taken a piece out of North. The only problem is they haven't taken all of the pieces. The puzzle's still kind of holding itself together at this point as Mandy somehow has managed to stay alive in all of this. Here comes another attempt at the push from Vibin, but again, the defensive play here from North has been absolutely superb. They've somehow managed to hold off not just the first push, the second push from Gambit, and a third push here from North, although Mandy has been eliminated now. So, although they've done a good job to hold this position, it is looking like they will have to play the rest of this game as a 2-man without their Pathfinder.
Yeah, and considering at least two teams already know where you currently reside, it is not going to be an easy escape for you. And if they're not careful, North could be the first squad eliminated in this match. They have gone for the early move out of that particular area. They've tried to get away very fast, but Vibin are hot on their tails and desperately looking to find this KP and potentially take North out, which they do. North fall in 20th, and this blows everything wide open now.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That is music to the ears of the chasing pack and the rest of the lobby. Na'Vi, one of those teams who really is starting to throw some good games together here on our final day of the grand finals for the EMEA region. Looks like they're going to have a little bit of a reset here. And we do see an end circle actually around where Na'Vi are set up at the moment. So they're going to be hoping that maybe they get a little bit of fortune going their way. And if we look at the tunnel at the moment, there's actually a team on the train that might be contesting LG inside of it. So LG have to be super careful that they don't get taken down here.
Always love a little train push. And always it gets me going. And here it is as well. It's going to be LG just taking this fight now. Watson fences come out just to stop anyone being able to push, but they know there is a team residing in the front of this train. Gotta be careful of the grenades that are coming out. And here comes so much damage available with the alternator wingman in the back pocket, but LG really struggling. Just gonna be Rugby on his own now with a slither of health, desperately trying to stay alive here. And I think this might be the end of him.
Just to get back through that portal with, as you say, with 1 HP, and it looks like he might be able to slide down, but no, the shots from distance mean that LG are now eliminated, which is going to be music to the ears of North fans. Vibing, still chilling up here at the bottom of tree, trying to gatekeep all of these teams. It looks like every fight they're taking at the moment is based around that truck, which is just to the east of them. They're going to be portaling on here. It's worked a couple of times for them, but now getting shot in the back as these teams start to get a little bit closer to each other, and Nice is going to have to back himself up here and retreat. Not going to be as easy to make those pushes with so many teams now closing in on this location.
So many, and now we're going to see where this next circle is going to be. Vibing are just going to be on the very edge of it here at Tree. So I think they can just move over to the next building and comfortably wait for the next circle. They don't need to do too much now. Still so many squads around that at this point, trying to make too big a rotation is going to be somewhat detrimental to your game, as Alliance seem to be wanting a little bit of piece of this action, and it's going to be Strafe going down. Nasky, Strafe, and Del under a lot of fire here, and the two remaining members of Alliance desperately seeing if they can do some damage.
Oh, look at this bubble fight, though. The Watson has absolutely juked, but Vaves is there to clean up Nasky, Strafe, and Del. And for Alliance fans, that is a huge moment, potentially, in this tournament, with North eliminated and winning a battle like that against one of the top teams in the lobby and having the circle close. Alliance fans are going to be rejoicing here. Now, the question is here, are they going to hit that beacon once more to give us a bit of information about where that next circle is going to be pulling? Because it is, as I say, a little bit of a 50 split at the moment, although most teams seem to be favoring that tree side of the map.
15 points behind North are Alliance right now. 13 points SJP2 find themselves behind North. So this is going to be a real chance for both of these teams to actually shake up the top of this leaderboard. But I wonder whether Alliance know that. I'm sure they'll know that. I'm sure they would have been looking at the kill feed and they would have seen North get eliminated early. And you can see Vaves here just having a little dance around, see if anyone is going to poke at him and see whether he can go for it here. A little bit of a bait just standing there. No one going to be taking those shots. So they will be able to gain this information, and this could prove to be absolutely vital in the latter stages, as it is going to be heading right towards Tree, but also those train tracks still in there as well, Mark.
Okay, so you can see it's probably going to be pulling towards the bottom building. It's actually just outside of that, so you can see them pinging to move up to that rock. There's a couple of teams below them in the tunnel, one team inside of thermal station, so they have a pretty comfortable rotation, to be honest with you, in towards that circle is going to be. And there's lots of cover over there with a lot of rock structures for them to play with, as we do see. Unfortunately, Lazarus, the winners of our last game here, being eliminated by Ad Hoc Gaming, as we just catch the end of that battle as the scan goes out now. And this is a team that is in thermal station that might be rotating behind Alliance, so they have to be super careful, Alliance, that they keep their eyes on Ad Hoc as the game rolls on.
Yeah, just got to make sure that they don't get aggressive and they don't push too quickly. Cooler Esports down to just 2, have spotted a couple of players out. Decent tag with the scout. And I don't think they'll be going for the recover of this banner, but there's definitely the consideration of it. Na'Vi in a decent spot here where they can set up and ensure that they can't be pushed from too many different angles, but also might be able to get aggressive and potentially get some more KP. But they've been able to find KP just fine. I want to see Na'Vi get to those late stages, Mark. I want to see them get to that final circle so we can really see them pick up more points.
Well, they've started to improve those placements a little bit in that last game, as was reflected in the score they managed to put up, and they're holding down a very good spot here on the map. Na'Vi now making that push in. The drone was destroyed a few minutes ago, but it's back up now, and here comes the EMP, and here comes the push from Na'Vi. They don't have the totem to work with, but they've managed to get that silence, and that is the cleanest wipe possible. But there's another team just behind them at the moment. They managed to get one knock, and I believe that Lava City boys were very, very close, almost too close for comfort there for Na'Vi, but they managed to retreat, and that's a big play from them, as Lava City boys with that Revenant again are trying to do some damage, but unfortunately for them, it looks like they will be actually choosing to reset themselves to get back to that position.
Reset, and a couple of just lone survivors here as well, doing their best to stay alive and get away from all of the action. Na'Vi, though, now might be looking to take a little bit of a bite off of this squad. They are going to have to rotate somewhat into the next circle. So it's going to be now or never, really. They need to take the fight, or they need to decide that they're going to go for placement instead. Maybe they're just waiting for that Revenant Totem to actually go up, as Taskmaster is going to be the last surviving player on Exorcism, and he's going to take a train ride into the tunnel here. And unfortunately, he gets spotted out, so he's straight back onto the train. I'll have another ticket, please, Mr. Officer. And I'm going to find somewhere else to currently reside, but he's down to just a slither of health. It'd be a miracle he does survive, and, well, he's just about got away with it here, Mark.
Yeah, 1 HP, but he's got a little nook to work with and get those heals back up. The team that is inside of that tunnel is Nessie, and you can see they're safe in that next zone as well. So Ad Hoc Gaming are the team that they're trying to hold out, who are holding down Thermal Station. So we might see that battle go down pretty soon, because with 22 seconds left on this circle, it's going to be up to Ad Hoc to make that move. Alliance also just trying to get involved with this, and as we noticed a minute ago, that rat is around this area, and they would have seen him rotating, so if Alliance can pick him up, that's an easy KP for them.
Yeah, it should be an easy KP, but it's always easier said than done. You don't want to leave yourself too vulnerable from being pushed by other squads when you do try and take down just a little ratty boy. 15 squads left, and with North out of this lobby, a massive chance for a team like Alliance to catch them up on the leaderboard, and yeah, they have spotted out that rat, as you said, Mark, and yes, okay, they're going to give away their position somewhat slightly, but I think teams already had an eye on where Alliance might be, and they've got the portal to a somewhat safe residence. It's going to be Nessie here in this little train tunnel, taking this fight as well. And they've got to hit some big shots here if they're going to win this fight. Nothing to hide behind except their fences, and it looks like they've done the job.
Yeah, that's going to be AHG who will be eliminated surely as the ring closes behind them. That's the difficulty of having to push through that tunnel. They've just got to be a little bit careful of a potential third party on the eastern side of this tunnel now, but their backs are safe, so they've only got to face forward now and worry about what is in front of them, as we do see a big pull in towards Tree here, in towards that central structure. So Gambit set up to make a push onto this area. Shots with the Mastiff won't quite land, and now, unfortunately for Hardecki, he's going to be caught out of position as his teammates can't quite find the angles to cover him as he made that play. So Gambit Esports now down to a 2-man as we have 1 minute left on this circle before it closes, and they've got to make their move.
Yeah, and aside from Gambit being down to 2, everyone else has a full and healthy roster of 3. So Outsiders and Exorcism, the last 2 to be taken out. Ad Hoc Gaming have also fallen, so I'm still looking at SJP2, I'm still looking at Alliance. These squads that can potentially shake things up at the top of the table as major pushers now. Having a look towards maybe picking up a bit of KP, or at least just doing some damage so that the other team has to use some of the meds they've been able to take into this end game. But with only 25 seconds, there has to be the thought process of where you're going to move into this next circle. And, well, here comes the portal. This is going to be their chance to try and get into a spot where they can survive and maybe take down a couple of other teams.
Yeah, Ranch is going to try and make up a little bit of ground here for his squad. It looks like he's found a little place just inside of that circle as well, or at least right on the edge of it. And the fact that they have that Gibraltar as well to bubble in should they need to is going to be huge for them. And not only that, the Caustic as well. So if they can make it through this next little rotation, that would be really, really big for them, as SJP2 still involved in this fight as well. And it's going to be Alliance who have to rotate in late. As you can see, the shots ringing down onto them. Flavor of the Month are going to lose a player. Maidalol's going to go down to the hands of SJP2 as well. And here comes the portal from Hack. It's a huge moment for Alliance in this tournament.
Yeah, they have to try and survive with just the 2 of them and maybe heal up IPN here just to ensure that they have the stuff to work with. But no, as soon as they portal through, they're just being shot left, right, and center. I think that's Alliance will fall. But SJP2, another team who have the chance to take down North, are still alive as we get down to the final 5 squads, and they're picking up KP at the same time.
Yeah, Love City Boys have just gone down, and Malawan from Major Pushers is absolutely cleaning house at the moment. He's got 7 kills to himself, the Caustic player. And they're inside that next zone as well, that final zone. So, potential here for him to get those traps down, to really be a nuisance to SJP2. The only thing is SJP2 do have a height advantage. The other team who are involved in this fight, you can see them just to the south of where SJP2 are set up, and that's finalized. You can see Red Evo as well, so that's going to make that push incredibly difficult. And you feel like these 2 teams, SJP2 and Finalized, are going to be the ones fighting against each other before Major Pushers are going to get involved.
which is a good thing for major pushes. You have to feel, especially when they've got the caustic as well, and they can put these traps down, and it's whether someone's going to make a move before this circle forces them out. And everyone just kind of taking a jump at one another at the moment, trying to do as much damage as possible before we get into this situation where in 25 seconds, they are going to have to make that move towards the next circle. As major pushes, they just keep having a little look here. Gibby ult will come out and could do a little bit of damage, but there is the Gibby bubble just to protect major pushes to ensure that nothing happens to them that is too skew with.
Now you have to wonder if major pushes have got that Gibby ultimate themselves to do some damage. The bubble is going to be used here by SJP2, so major pushers are going to have that opportunity as they're out in the open when that one does drop to land some shots here. 3 squads still remaining. Finalized still with 3 members up, and there is that Gibraltar ult right on the edge of this zone, having to close, and it's going to be met with a dome here from Finalized, and now you're going to see the push come in from SJP2, trying to take down major pushers down on the low ground. Denze, the last man alive, he'll be taken down, and we're down to 2 squads remaining as Cleve and Ranches will be cleaned up, and it's Finalized, who come through at the last moment to clean house. And SJP2, I think, were forced into that fight and Finalized again as the third party, holding off and keeping hold of that Gibraltar bubble to use last. Make their move, and they will be the champions of your game at number 12, the final game there on World's Edge.
But we can look at the success of SJP2 there and the demise of North in that game. North dropping in 20th spot, so SJP2 really would have gained ground on them there. They were 15 points coming into it, so I wouldn't be surprised if potentially they actually managed to move their way up into that top spot, but it depends how much KP they were able to pick up along the way to that third place finish. But shout out to Finalized. It's always a tricky situation when it comes down to those 3 squads at the end. Who's going to be pushing first? Who has that high ground? Who has the advantage? But Finalized, the execution was flawless.
Yeah, and just holding on to that Gibby bubble, being the last team to expend that is so vital in those 1v1v1 situations as far as teams are concerned, because you have the ultimate cover to last. Everyone else is in the open and has to fight. And I thought here when Alliance won this fight, they were certainly going to be a team who were in a great position to make a run in this game. Unfortunately for them, didn't quite go the way they wanted, but they did get KP on the board as well, which is going to, again, close that gap onto North. This fight in the tunnel towards the end between Ad Hoc Gaming making that desperate push was a pretty clean one there from Nessie.
Very clean indeed. And I mean, this tunnel just had me worried for so long because it does leave yourself so vulnerable from being pushed from various different directions, but they were able to get out, they were able to survive, and SJP2 did very well pushing into this final circle and picking up decent KP to go alongside it. But it was just they weren't able to get into one of these prime positions to actually win the game. Major pushers had the potential and had the chance to win it, but in the end, the low ground just didn't help them out enough, and they weren't able to find those successful shots over Finalized, who just swooped in to clean everything up right at the end.
Maloan did an amazing job in this game. You can see it was 6 kills to his name. There's 7. So they're going to have a lot of KP on the board there, major pushers. Although they didn't manage to clean house as far as getting the win was concerned. A second place with that many kills, you expect a pretty huge point total from them. But Finalized are the champions. And I mentioned earlier, they had a really good start to day number 1 Finalized. Kind of fell off a little bit, but that's them coming back to form now. And I just feel like everyone in the lobby is playing phenomenal Apex at the moment. And it's a case of someone pulling off something crazy or someone making a mistake, which is the difference between these two teams. But that is going to do it now for World's Edge. It's time for a little bit of an extended break between the 2 maps so the players can get a little bit of rest in and get refreshed. So it's going to be 20 minutes until we are back. But when we get back, it's the final 4 games here of the EMEA Region's Grand Final for the GLL Masters Summer. Don't go too far. Get yourself a drink, but we'll be back very soon. And welcome back once again, everybody, and it is time for the final 4 games of our EMEA region grand finals for the GLL Masters Summer. It's all come down to this now, Dan. We've had a little break. We hope everyone who's watching is nicely refreshed and ready for these final games. The players as well, because North are top of the league, I believe, at the moment. We'll check in just a second, but it's super close.
I think it's going to be about 1 point in it. I think SJP2 are just behind them, if my maths is correct. Yep, okay, it's spot on. 103,
1 point.
102. Jesus, yeah, this is getting quite tight now at the top of the table. And I mean, even Alliance only 5 points off of North with 4 games remaining. No reason why major pushers, Ad Hoc Gaming, couldn't still get into things as well, but we are starting to clearly see our front runners now getting away from the rest of the pack. But the middle of the pack just keeps changing, Mark. Like, some teams just keep stepping up. Like, Finalize, for example, up to 6th now. They've done really well to push themselves into that position.
I'm looking at this leaderboard right now, and you're seeing sort of 30 points between the top 9 teams. I think that was 30 points between 9 teams. Any team drops out in that top 10 early here, and they are getting overtaken. This is anyone's still. North, top of the league by 1 point. Top of the leaderboards by 1 single point, with the chasing pack right in behind them. And Finalized, who are struggling to find a drop here on Kings Canyon again. Well, it's the same old story for them here.
Yeah, they might have had the success previously on World's Edge, but as we move over to Kings Canyon, we know it's an entirely different kettle of fish. Nook already dropping, it means Finalized they're down to just 2, so they need to loot up quickly and decide whether they're going to try and take this fight 2 versus 3 and get the banner back, or whether they're just going to be thinking about moving away and potentially trying to loot somewhere else. But Big Fam have actually taken some serious damage here, but they're the ones who are getting aggressive. They're the ones who wanted to take this fight. Bryn goes down as well, so things are not looking good on the other side.
Someone please give Finalized somewhere to drop so we can actually see them competing here on Kings Canyon. I kind of feel bad for them. Every single place they've gone has been contested. It doesn't manage to get 1 knock, but that is going to be them eliminated straight away. Kings Canyon kicking off in style here as we already see our first team eliminated. And I'm expecting a lot more fights to be going down, especially in those final games, especially if it's this close, Dan. It might actually change things a little bit. If it's this close going into those final couple of games, then some teams are going to be playing it super careful just in the hope that they aren't that team that does get griefed.
Yeah, I mean, we say how it could be teams being aggressive, but when it is this close, you might see actually teams get a little bit more passive. It's going to be a northern circle, but the circle not over the water, although it is still starting to head towards artillery ever so slightly. Those teams that are already in residence there are going to be in the perfect space. And one team is going to be Ad Hoc Gaming, who we can already see we're on board with. So they're in a decent spot right now to loot up comfortably here in artillery and potentially be that first team to really choose and pick as to where they want to set up here inside artillery, or whether they want to push out ever so slightly outside of it, because maybe they think the circle isn't going to end up there.
Yeah, not the greatest of armors to work with, but some decent weaponry to go alongside it, so we'll have to see what they do. And as they move through the pit, they're going to start making their trek up to the north. It looks like it will be an artillery finish, and that's one of those areas that you do desperately want to rotate into early. You've got that high ground, the big wall surrounding it, as well as those couple of choke points, the tunnel, which comes from the west, and you can see the tunnel that comes from containment as well. So 3 big choke points into artillery. If you're already there, you're going to be pretty happy. But it's going to be a little bit of a tough one here. We do also see that finish, which is just to the east of the watchtower as well. So teams are going to kind of hold down those tunnels. I think might be a good place to actually try and play from. But teams around artillery is where they're going to be heading, as Nessie, one of the winners of our first game of the day, are going to be coming under a little bit of fire here just outside of Market.
Yeah, all the teams that are up by artillery and in the northern parts are going to be somewhat comfortable for the next 10-15 minutes or so, but it's going to be those teams that are going to be rotating from the southern side of the map, that are avoiding one another whilst also trying to get into a position that makes it comfortable and deciding on whether they want to take the fights or not. Certainly when we look at the compositions, we'll see how many revenants we've got and whether we've seen any changes as we move into Kings Canyon. Certainly the first map on Kings Canyon, when we do get the transition between World's Edge and Kings Canyon, we don't tend to see as many changes. It's usually the second or third game when teams start to switch things up, as Luminosity Gaming have now lost 2, and it is going to be vibing with that aggressive comp that are going to be trying to finish them off here.
So vibing, changing their comp a little bit here and going for the Revenant Crypto combo. And for Luminosity Gaming, that is not what they needed, losing 2 of their members, and their last man alive has managed to get out there. As we will see the Watson just retreating up the hill here, and it's Sanya who will be that solo player. So for LG, their opportunity to maybe close that gap has got a little bit more difficult for them, as we do see major pushes here set up just outside of artillery, just in that building before that huge wall. They're going to be pretty comfortable for now, but the question is, when that ring pulls, if it pulls deep into artillery, you're going to have to make their way forward, but they're going to be very, very safe in that position with that caustic, of course.
Yeah, a few teams are just taking up a spot in artillery and trying to gamble on it being there, as that's another drop and another potential team being wiped off the face of the earth. And I think it might be Lazarus. It is. Lazarus go down. So even though they had some success today and they've had a first place and a second place, it's going to be a 19th place for them in the first map of Kings Canyon. Flavor of the month just getting that information as to where everyone's being, and now Lava City Boys are going to be the aggressors here. Have the totem down and they take down Cooler Esports. So we're down to just 17 now, and Lava City Boys will be the kill leader.
Yeah, 3 kills on the board for them, a clean wipe, and 17 squads, like you quite rightly said. So some early aggression coming out from some teams here, but here comes Na'Vi. Hey, haven't heard that fight go down. It looks like Na'Vi are more than interested to try and finish it off themselves. Ninem's going to be pushing this door, does get the thermite down, but the little delay here is going to slow things down just ever so slightly. Now they're pushing in on Lava City Boys, but you can see Ninem's did get reset. Lava City Boys really struggling to hold on here, and Glacier is going to be the last man alive. The portal is still down, so 2 knocks will go down to the hands of Na'Vi. And the question is, can the Wraith get away here just to survive? Maybe try and rat out for some placement.
Yeah, it looks like he will get away. I think that once you've seen just one player escaping for Na'Vi here, they're not going to be too desperate about that 1 extra KP. And in fact, they'll say, look, we've been able to pick up the kills. We're going to get some decent loot because of this. And let's just maybe focus on where we're going to go next, rather than thinking about too much about where this rat is going to be. Alliance are also not too far away. And they're trying to get into a fight of their own. I think they actually wiped out the final member of Lava City Boys, or at least finished off one of the members who was down on the floor.
Well, Alliance need a big game here. As we see, part of that chasing path is getting tighter and tighter in a game here where you can kind of separate yourself with only 3 games remaining after this, after what has been an arduous grand final for all these teams. No excuses, with 16 games to decide who will be our EMEA champion. An opportunity once again for Alliance to remind us of how good they are. SJP2, who have been a completely different team today. Been really, really superb, much more consistent than we saw yesterday. They get those couple of wins on the board yesterday, but outside of that, a little bit quiet. That's obviously not underselling that achievement in itself, but put themselves in a position now well, they could potentially be calling themselves champions come the end of Kings Canyon here.
Definitely have the possibility to do so. It's really a case now of whether they want to try and take one of these fights here in artillery, or whether they are happy with just being in one of these little buildings. I personally don't like being in this building, because I feel like you can be shot from far too many different angles. And I suppose if you can defend accordingly and you can watch those angles successfully between the 3 of you, then you're in a decent spot, and set up a little bit of a crossfire to ensure no one can push too successfully. But Gambit are going to be in the building opposite. But it looks like at the moment, both teams more than happy just to be neighbors.
Nessinem making their move towards the end of the circle, just running this one in with the ring, and it looks like they'll take a little bit of a wider rotation here and take a little bit of tick damage as they make their way through, but only the first ring, so that's not going to damage them too much. Flavor of the month. Hey, surprise, surprise, Pierre's got an Evo and he's got a charge rifle. What's new?
And I think that's why they rotated a different way, because they saw Flavor of the Month just stood on top of these buildings. And they were going to be potentially the gatekeepers that might do a little bit of damage. You can see the way they're scouting the area. Flavor of the Month want to pick up some extra KP here from the teams rotating in. It doesn't look like anyone is going to be playing ball just yet. So now Flavor of the Month are going to have to turn their sights to actually rotating in themselves and start thinking about this next circle.
Yeah, just 98 or so points away of damage from leveling up that Evo as well to purple. So not too much damage for him to do with that charge rifle. Just needs to find an angle on a player rotating or holding down a position. There's a solo Watson making her way through the Central River area up towards Hillside Outpost. And it's going to be LG still very much in this game. And unfortunately for Zanya, it means that he will be a solo as he doesn't have the banner and Rugby's respawn has timed out. So he's going to be playing this one as carefully as possible. But unfortunately for him, that might be a Flavor of the Month charge rifle in the back, and that might be the full Evo as he almost manages to get taken down in that situation. A little bit hairy for him, but you can see the Watson just scarping away, and it is Pierre.
Free damage for Pierre. He's going to be more than happy to charge up that Evo, as you say. For Flavor of the Month, they don't have to go too far, but they have to be careful with this rotation. in the next minute and 20 seconds or so, because there could be a couple of teams in residence just as the building they're coming up to on that riverside. A lot of teams have moved up to artillery. No one has taken the little passageway to the left of artillery just yet, but it looks like, as I say, that a team is starting to head their way into it. And that could be one of the prime positions to try and put yourself within a spot of pushing into artillery at the end of the game, if it does end up heading all the way up top. It's going to be Ad Hoc Gaming, first team towards it, and they are just having a little scout around to see if anyone already has taken up residency here, but we know after seeing the map, they are going to be able to have this comfortably, and that's the advantage of running a Bloodhound as well, Mark, just being able to scan and check if there's any hostiles nearby.
A good position here for Ad Hoc Gaming. They're going to be chilling here for quite a while. We are going to see SJP2 actually in the kill feed there. Did lose one player and did get knocked. So SJP2 coming under a little bit of fire here. We'll have to keep an eye on how that pans out for them. The team who are closest to them. And look at this, SJP2 actually been taken out while all of this action has been going down. So a huge swing in this game. And third impact were that team who were doing the damage. And the Gold Sentinel in the hands of Jazz here is going to be keeping an eye on that tunnel just to his east. And Ad Hoc Gaming are going to be that team who were working their way through. So they'll have to keep an eye on that, as that thing hits hard.
And hard it does here. It hits for 74 that Outsiders just lost a member on their squad too. Elsewhere off screen. And in 30 seconds, we're going to find out whether this gamble for artillery is going to pay off for these teams. I mean, often when it is a northern circle and it's touching the water, it heads towards artillery, but it could drift a little bit south of artillery if people aren't careful. Well, I guess it's actually got nothing to do whether the teams are actually being careful or not, but you've got to be careful with where you are predicting the circle. Outsiders down to just 2 now. Maybe having a little scout around to see if anyone else is going to be trying to take a chunk out of them. As speaking of chunks, Na'Vi have lost a big chunk here, but that's a big shot.
Here comes 9% pushing in onto the Gibraltar. He will be returned to that totem, but good damage done there. And it was actually Alliance who were involved in that fight. So now you're going to see Faizu go back in and see if he can pick up some of these finishes onto that Alliance member. LG were eliminated. The solo player, Tsanya, was taken down in all of this fighting that was going down, and it was by Alliance. So a KP on the board for them. Alliance have managed to scarper away from this push as well from Na'Vi. So they'll feel pretty confident in this situation, having got out of that situation. And also, like I mentioned, picking up the KP on the LG solo player. As we see, a handstand going on here between Nessie.
And Nessie know that they're
titanfall of their own, isn't it? Thinking about it.
Is potentially a team around the corner. So they're just being a little bit hesitant before they push in. Alliance are in this next circle, and they're just being a real pain to all these teams who already have found themselves in quite an open area. And there's going to be the next one then. So it is up towards artillery. And so those teams who have already found their way into it are going to be feeling pretty happy about that. Of course, some teams not quite in the next circle. But for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, they are going to be absolutely delighted with this one.
Yeah, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in a really good position here. And Vibid now looking to get aggressive on this team. And the big EMP hit as well is going to crack all 3 players, or at least take 50 HP from them. So now you're going to see that push come in with the totem. And you're going to see the Arc Star in hand. And the question is, can they take down Na'Vi? Yes, they can. It's clean as you like. Na'Vi eliminated. And Nyes will become the kill leader as well with 3 kills to his name. Gonna take that portal back as well, and that's a smart thing to do here. Just make sure they get repositioned around that totem and back to cover where they can heal.
The Revenant comp taking down another Revenant comp. Na'Vi not able to have the success on Kings Canyon just yet, as Ad Hoc Gaming now are going to be under a little bit of fire here in the tunnel next to artillery. They dropped off a little bit. They were in 3rd place in the leaderboards after yesterday's action, but they've not really shown up today. Not had any of those mammoth kill point games that we saw from them on Saturday's action of this grand final. And really, it does surprise me, because Ad Hoc Gaming is just full of such a powerhouse of players. As you can see, Figvam just with the 1 player remaining ever since that early battle they had, but he's going to be spotted out, so he very much needs to get out of there.
Gambit looking pretty healthy at the moment in this game as well, in the center of artillery. You can see a few shots going to be exchanged, but they're one-way shots there as the wingman hits very, very hard there for around 120 damage. cracks that shield. Leogri's going to poke back out as well with the 2-4 on the 301. I think you're going to see a little bit of posturing here. A little knock coming in, actually, between Flavor of the Month and actually North both get involved in this fight on outsiders who are trying to rotate their way in. And Adhok Gaming here trying to have a little peek on this team who are trying to make their way towards the circle, who will not be inside. So they're going to have to take this fight against Adhok Gaming. There's actually a team just underneath them to the right as well. So Adhok could be super careful here. There's a couple of teams who are looking to force this position, and they can't be the first to engage because that third party is just waiting to knock on the door.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wonder whether they want to get some KP here, because this is not going to be an easy rotation because they're going to be pushing straight through a choke. So instead, they're going back on themselves and seeing if they can join in with any of these fights that are happening elsewhere, as Major Push is trying to catch a team that is just trying to zip their way to safety. And Major Pushers, they're in a pretty good spot here, actually, just outside of artillery. All the caustic traps are set up as well. Of course, yes, they are going to be vulnerable from several different angles, but as long as they know which spots they can hide behind, they should be okay for the time being. Flavor of the Month managed to pick up a couple of kills.
Oh, big shots though from Jazz. The Sentinel hitting hard, and now you're going to see the push almost immediately called in. He's going to go straight into that drone and hit the EMP on these last two players. It's weak on them, and now it's up to BaLonG and Ziki to push in. As he actually, I think, got the stick as well. So everything that could go right in this situation for Third Impact is going right. They did lose Ziki in this battle that is going on, but KP on the board for them. Not sure if they completely cleanly wiped them. And they will get the finish on this player and be able to get the armor swap. And it was actually Hardeki who managed to get away in that situation. So their Artico, has been finished off by BaLonG. Hardeki still in this game, but gets blown backwards. And will be blown back out of King's Canyon by those grenades.
Nah, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell were in prime position to watch all of that unfold, and they were just tossing grenades left, right, and center to ensure that they were able to help out with that push from Third Impact. And now with just 5 seconds left as round 4 circle closes, well, there's a lot of teams who still have to make their way into this short space, Mark, and one of those teams was Adhok Gaming, so I'm interested to see whether they will come through the choke, and they would come straight into connection with... Oh, that looks interesting. With the boys that we just saw win that fight, Third Impact. He's going to die there underneath. And it is going to be the fight. Third Impact will actually take the totem now and try and survive this oncoming rush.
Yeah, trying to hold everybody out at the moment. Shot onto the Gibraltar inside that bubble, and the totem is going to be there for him to potentially finish this fight as well. There is the knock, and Third Impact again picking up KP for days at the moment, and they are one of those dangerous teams who are still very much in contention of potentially becoming your EMEA champions here. And with shots like that, and execution like that in these fights, Dan, they really are starting to heat up here.
Yeah, they could do with one big game and one big victory to start to catch up those guys who are at the top. Vibin have lost one, though. They would have certainly liked to stay healthy. They are kill leader. Nyes has 5 at the moment. Adhok Gaming really struggled to push through the choke as expected. And now for Vibin, I don't think they'll be able to get Joke up here. Flavor of the Month, though, they will be able to get Pierre up, and they are going to be back to their full force, the full 3. Still a long way for them to go into the next circle, but they can wait a little bit. Just scout the area. They have spotted one team just outside of artillery and one on top of artillery.
I think they're going to be looking for any knocks to take the position away from the team who goes down. You can see they're pinging up top here, and that looks like the fight that they might potentially want to take, and they're going to have to make that decision nice and quickly here, as there's only around 35 seconds until this zone closes, and they're on the far side of the zone, so they're going to have to travel in. And one team who's made it in here is Alliance, and this is huge for them. Chasing down North at the top of the table, within the top 8 already, and look at the KP as well, 2 in the hands of Hakis, as the portal now goes down to try and find them a safe spot.
Yeah, if they can get into a safe spot, they might be one of the first teams in this next circle, or at least one of the first out of the oncoming teams who are rotating in late. Flavor of the Month down pretty low. Noth needs to be careful, but he's managed to get an armor switch, so he's done well. And Nasky, Strafe, and Dell have been in prime spot throughout the entirety of this game. They've just been waiting and watching and pinging people from across the map. I don't know if they know that Alliance are underneath them, but they certainly would have heard something and got some sort of audio cue. But for now, they just need to focus on the fact that they have this high ground and they are in this next circle.
So Flavor of the Month have lost Taylor, and I believe that was to a Gibraltar defensive bombardment. They're going to have to move forward here with the edge of zone. They've got shields to work with. The only problem is I don't think they've quite got the legs on them to get inside that zone. So Flavor of the Month will drop here as we see the pull towards that silo area. Cleave now up on top for major pushes. Another good performance from them inside this top 5. Alliance as well. Look at the position they've managed to get a hold of here, Dan. They've got eyes on the exit of the team who are caught up in that bunker, and this could be a big, big game here for Alliance.
Yeah, they just need to be careful they don't go too far around the other side, because Nasky, Strafe, and Dell will spot them out and might be able to do some damage to them. But actually, Alliance just trying to assert their dominance and say, well, if we lay some shots into them, maybe we can force them back and we can try to take advantage of this spot we're in. They've still got 1 minute to work with and think about this push, so they can just have a little listen and see what other teams are going to be fighting one another. Third Impact still alive, and I'm sure when that portal and that totem is ready, there's going to be a possibility of them deciding whether they want to get aggressive or not later. As I say that, Jazz will go down. Big wingman shots coming out from Dell.
Tell you what, that crypto could be devastating in this late game as well. If everyone has to move in and that EMP goes off, there's not much room to work with, so everyone's going to be hit by it. So Third Impact in an interesting position. The only problem for them is they are kind of bottlenecked into an area. AHG Metafe was ratting it out there, and he will be taken down. So now we're down to our last 4 teams. As Ad Hoc Gaming do get some placement points on the board here. In our 13th game of the day, here comes the EMP, and this is going to allow Third Impact to make that push. This is a big play for them as they go through and they try and take on the team who's holding down inside. Malawan is going to go down. Jazz is going to get reset in all of this. But Ballon G seems to have done the job here as major pushers will get wiped.
Yeah, and everyone just wants a piece of this action now. Alliance also getting involved at the same time. They want to make sure they can take down and get some free KP. We're down to just 2 squads. Alliance are one of those squads, Mark. And now someone else is coming for a fight.
Oh, this has surely got to be Nasky, Strafe, and Dell who are trying to capitalize on this. Big shots, though, from IPN, but it doesn't matter because Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, maybe this is the start of the comeback for them. It's the win they've desperately, desperately needed. They had the position for the majority of that game. And again, just having the nous and that decision-making to be the third party, great stuff from them. But you have to say, even with that win, Alliance had a lot of KP in that game. So this could be very, very interesting to look at those leaderboards.
Yeah, and I mean, when we look right back to the start of that game as well, Ad Hoc Gaming dropped in artillery, and then they moved slightly outside of artillery rather than opting to stay inside. And as they did that, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell just kind of swooped in and took it off them and took that prime position. Of course, the circle went their way in the end, but they were next to the beacon, so they were able to gain that information of where that circle was going to be consistently moving. And it was just a formality at that point. I feel they had all the advantages, and because there was still a couple of aggressive compositions left, it meant that those aggressive compositions and those aggressive teams tried to take advantage of that aggression, and it meant that Nasky, Strafe, and Dell were just like, okay, yep, you initiate that fight, and we will just come in and clean up the pieces afterwards. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we've got 4 teams now running that Revenant Crypto combo, at least a Revenant, I should say, in this game now on Kings Canyon. You've got Vibin, you've got Na'Vi, you've got Third Impact, and I believe you've got another team who's running the Revenant as well. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but that was a beautiful shot with the Sentinel there to pick up that kill. And Third Impact as well, don't forget about them. They made it to the late game. They got a lot of KP on the board, so big point game for them as well. And it seems like every single time that one team puts in a big point performance, it's not at the expense of another. Everyone is finding KP in that top half of the table.
Yeah, we've got to be looking at Alliance, though, and how much KP they were able to pick up, because that could get them catching up with North and SJP2 as well. What were they able to do? They were only 1 point behind North coming into that game. So, again, even now with 3 games left, and it started off with like, oh, there's 7 games left. It's plenty of time. Now I'm starting to like, there's 3 games left. Okay, people need to start taking this seriously, and if they're going to make like a break it, trying to get a comeback, it has to be soon.
Okay, well, as you say, 3 games remaining. Kings Canyon full of action at the start here. So let's see what happens in the next game after this quick break. But congratulations to, of course, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. Maybe the comeback's time for them. And then there were 3 games to go in our grand finals. Dan Gaskin, we've been talking off camera, and you've been excited by the fact that GSD have made this comeback kind of start to happen. We saw the Na'Vi Cinderella story in the LCQ, but GSD with a performance like that, maybe we could see a repeat. Who knows?
Yeah, they've got quite a long way to go, but it's definitely doable. Alliance are going to be above North now, as far as I'm aware, because North dropped off a little bit earlier, and Alliance was still able to pick up some big points. But yeah, these teams that are kind of like residing around 6th to 9th, like there's no reason why they still can't win this. You're going to need some big games back to back and show some consistency now in the final 3, but I would say this is fairly open to a lot of the teams still left in this tournament, which is going to make for some very exciting last final few games.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to these games now. Just 3 more to go. 2 days of action pretty much is coming down to this now. And look at the scores from our previous game. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, 20 points for them. Third Impact, though, 11 kills. Gives them 18. And Alliance with 16 as well. And then you look down the bottom there. North with just that 1 point, Dan. We are going to see some changes in our leaderboard.
Yes, we are indeed. Alliance will catch up North. They're probably going to... Well, yes, actually, they will definitely be taking over them. SJP2 as well were only at 1 point behind them, but they only picked up a point as well. So they'll still be a point behind North. But there we go. Alliance
look at
now
that! Look how tight
the advantage.
The 4th is!
But, I mean, third Impact still in touching distance. You could argue that Ad Hoc Gaming, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell still could potentially win this as well if they can string together a few victories. I'd say the bottom 10 now are pretty much out of it, unless something short of a miracle. But certainly this top 5, top 6 is very, very close.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying this, this is going to be a crazy last 3 games, and that is certainly going to change your opinion. Alliance, though, top of the leaderboards, finally overtaking North, who have been holding it down for so long. But can they keep that momentum going into our last 3 games? Or will the team who have finally started to find a little bit of momentum, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, continue that rolling here with a second win on the bounce to make their onslaught? We see the Pathfinder beacon almost immediately, and it's going to be around that mid-river area just to the west of Market, Dan.
Yeah, mid-river, just near Cage, so those teams... Well, that team landing near Cage is going to be in a great position because they're going to have a beacon as well. So they can wait there on Cage, loot up, and consistently use that beacon to get more and more information and take down these teams that are going to be rotating in, because they will have, of course, the vantage point with the hype from the Cage. As are we going to see any early fights? That's the real question. Figvam was certainly in an early engagement last game, and it looks like they are going to be in that same engagement here. Are they going to be able to be as successful this time, though? That is the real question mark.
Yeah, it's going to be finalized, I believe. Again, it's going to be Nook who's taken down first, unfortunately for him. And now you're going to see Bryn, the last man alive here on finalized. Maybe he can pull off something a little bit special here, as the rest of Figvam are kind of split in this situation. There's the Gibraltar. He'll be taken down, and Bryn has all of a sudden turned this into a 1v1 situation. He is going to be able to use that time to get the res up as well, but you can see here comes Senvels trying to get into a position to maybe stop that big crack, though. With that Arcstar is going to turn things around completely. Can he get the finish, though? That's the question.
Yeah, he was able to get it down with that one. Massive Arcstar, and now it's going to be a 2 versus 1. Make that 1 versus 1 again, because Bryn has been able to pick up the damage on that very weak player. And now it's going to be Wraith versus Wraith here, but there's the damage finalized. Are just about going to be able to survive. And this time they get revenge on Figvam.
Yeah, Bryn, that is huge, that play. Almost a 3v1 in a circumstance. Double R99 certainly helped him out, swapping to that secondary in that final fight, but huge stuff coming in from the Wraith there for finalized. And unfortunately, Figvam will be on the losing end of that challenge here over at Slum Lakes this time around, but that'll be our first team eliminated. There has been another knock in the game as well. As you can see, there's 56 players left in the lobby. Lava City boys rotating away from Cage here. They're maybe looking to play a little bit of edge here, get a little bit aggro with this comp that they're running. It is another team who is running that Revenant.
Yeah, they're pinging out just where potential enemies are at this point, and they got away from Cage because there was a team in residence in Cage, and that's not really a fight you want to take if you haven't been able to loot up accordingly, which they haven't because they only had white armor. Third Impact, another aggressive team, do have a team right below them here. And they can certainly take advantage of this. They've been able to knock one. They're going to look to get the second. It's going to be Lazarus Esports who are on the receiving end of it. Maybe we might be able to see the Wraith escape with her life, but The Pathfinder has already fallen, and the Watson is not going to be able to get out too easily. Roger Bodger, can he do anything? Yeah, okay, he survives. They've done all right here at Lazarus to make sure that that wasn't too detrimental to them. I think they've got to keep running, but the danger of always keeping running is you often run into someone else.
Here's LG then. Not a great game for them in that first one. However, better start for them here as Yuki is going to be taken down before he manages to get through that portal. When you can see the rest of Cooler Esports scuttling away into the distance luminosity with some early kill points on the board. And they certainly do need that if they want to be a part of that chasing pack and really have an impact in this last 3 games. You can see that Yuki's banner hasn't been recovered yet either by Cooler, so they're going to be in a little bit of a difficult spot. And it looks like there might be another team who's going to be trying to push on their position here.
I think if you have any sort of information that it's only going to be 2 players rather than 3, you definitely want to try and get that push and pick up those kill points, as Na'Vi are going to be having a little bit of a scuffle here. Some big shots coming out of Claws, but he will get sent back to that totem. Thankfully, some help from the rest of the team, as Na'Vi showing that actually, when they do have that totem and when they do go for that dive, they do find a little bit of success. As I see Nasky has been taken down in the kill feed as well after their victory last game. And as Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, they are in a fight here, Mark. And, well, Strafe is very, very weak.
Yeah, 2 members have actually been taken down. Dell is full shields here from Lava City Boys, so it's a 2v1 situation. It should be fairly comfortable for them to get that res off as well as the KP. So Lava City Boys, one of the teams running that Revenant, will be eliminated from this game. And Nasky, Strafe, and Dell continue that momentum that they got from that win in the first game here on Kings Canyon. Into that fight, 17 squads now remaining, and those kill points are going to all add up as we get towards the end of this.
Yeah, probably looked a little bit dicey at a second for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, but Dell having the full armor just had to swoop in at the right time, as all the teams starting to get closer towards this next circle now. Now, 2 teams by Cage that we can see could end up in a little bit of an engagement. Exorcism are going to be the team's central Cage, so in my opinion, one of the best positions on the map right now, especially with the beacon available to them as well. But there is a lot of eyes on you if you are at the top of Cage, that's for sure.
Gambit of the team who are trying to make their way through these exterior tunnels that surround Cage, but they're going to be pretty comfortable for now. As you can see, they're inside that next circle, so they don't really have to move for another 4 or 5 minutes if they don't really want to. But they are going to be coming under fire. And that Watson ult isn't going to last too much longer. You can see the ticker now from the adjustments, and the time before that does naturally come to the end of its life. And Articoge is using that time to get those shields back up. And you can see in the kill feed again, LG involved, but it looks like things aren't quite going their way as we are starting to see some drops happen across Kings Canyon.
17 squads left. LG losing one of their players, and it's just going to be Rugby. The remaining tries to do as much as he can with the Mastiff just to warn the players off who are pushing him. But otherwise, we could see LG falling early. I mean, going out this early now with only 3 games left, if you are anywhere in that top 10, you are probably giving up your chances of being able to win this competition. I would say that realistically, it's the top 6 who are in contention for it. But definitely LG, I mean, if they did have 3 big games, they might be able to do something. But now it's down to just Rugby. You have to imagine that they're not going to be able to pick up a victory here. It's just going to be trying to save as much as you can and relying on these last 2 games to really salvage something.
Hop on board with Vibin then as they make their way around from that Cage area to this little building just overlooking that mid-river. Nice still with the Evo shield, and he's got to get 34 more damage just to level that up to level 2 there and get that blue shield going. He's got the gold Prowler though. So if anyone does dare to challenge him close, he's going to be pretty dangerous. And he's got you can see the R9 Prowler combo.
That's terrifying.
Controller player's dream.
Yeah. Not just controller player's dream, everyone's dream, really. Very scary in those close quarters battles. So 3rd Impact, FigVam, and Lava City Boys, the 3 teams eliminated so far. LG down to just 1, and Cooler Esports down to just 2 players. Everyone else is more than healthy with 3. Flavor of the month, just watching this circle come in and seeing if anyone is going to be able to be picked off as the charge rifle firmly strapped to Pierre's hands, as always. Might as well super glue it at this point.
It's very spawns with it. Pretty much every single time we have seen him. Well, not pretty much every single time. It's obviously a tactic they're trying to employ to get that Evo shield up, and quite rightly so. We're now going to see Outsiders pushing in. I think they just absolutely wiped the floor with Vibin, so Outsiders winning that fight pretty comfortably. The portal's going to go down to get that Watson back up into this game and revived. However, Yasilta is coming under pressure himself as from a third party. It's going to be up to Mistral why this res is going to be going down, and the Phoenix kit is going to be popped to hold this angle and stop this push coming in.
Yeah, Phoenix kit going off before the res comes through. Rugby still doing his best to stay alive here and is in the next circle, but clearly being griefed from several different directions at the moment. I mean, if anyone is going to be your rat, of course, you'd rather it be a Wraith or a Pathfinder, so still a chance for LG to pick up some points here, I would have thought.
I think Rugby was actually trying to get a little bit greedy and see if he can pick up a KP on that player who was weak on Outsiders in that building, but unfortunately it didn't go his way. Flavor of the month, Pierre, he's managed to get it down himself, and it's going to be onto major pushes here. They're going to be forced off of this building, but the down isn't going to be too damaging for them. They can't get the finish, and it's going to be an easier revive as Pierre now has got that Evo shield up to a purple and 311 damage points away from getting it up to red as well. 1 minute 40 left on this ring as well, this ring number 2, and this is where we're going to see teams start to engage a little bit more as that ground becomes a little bit too close for comfort for a few of these teams.
Pierre just rubbing his hands together every time someone peeks in with this charge rifle. He's just gobbling it up for the Evo shield. It's worked out so successfully for them in the previous games. Not too many teams outside of this circle now. Just the one team who is still rotating from the west side of the map is going to be Lazarus here. And they're under a little bit of fire. Roger Bodger very, very low. The rest of the team trying to do what they can to support him. Watson will come out just to try and heal up, and it looks like they need to make the decision now as to whether they're going to turn and take this fight or not.
Well, it's going to be Ad Hoc Gaming who are making that push, and it's 120 big damage points coming in from Zippeth as well, and this could be the end. It looks like it will be. Roger Bodger goes down. There is a player just caught in the corner, though, and it looks like Kuya was aware of that. Last player will come back through, and Lazarus will be wiped off the face of Kings Canyon here. But here comes the third party, and it's Na'Vi using that Death Totem as well. And for Ad Hoc Gaming, they've got to get out of here as quickly as possible.
And they've got to get out, or they've got to quickly assess whether they can actually take this fight or not. Na'Vi just trying to maybe get a couple of armor swaps and maybe see if they can chase them through this portal. And chase they do. Kuya will fall, so does Metafe. And that is going to be Na'Vi successfully finding this push, and they get the full wipe onto Ad Hoc Gaming.
Yeah, I thought the defensive bombardment from the Gibraltar had done enough there for Ad Hoc Gaming to buy some time, but the portal had gone out as well, and that just essentially gave Na'Vi an open door to walk through to chase down Ad Hoc Gaming and get those kill points on the board. So Na'Vi looking pretty good at the moment, and they're going to have some loot to play with as well. As we're now down to just 14 squads, so quite a few battles going down early on in here in Kings Canyon, and that means there'll be more space for these teams to work with.
Yeah, a little bit more space to get into the final stages and get a better idea of where this final circle is going to be. Those teams around Cage are going to have to move ever so slightly southwest towards the river, whereas a few of the teams have already situated themselves next to the river, and they're already kind of just enjoying themselves, having a little fish. Market also is a comfortable spot to be in right now. And that means that those teams that are rotating in late might find it a little bit difficult to get into their ideal situation, but because of the lack of squads and it's not as full a lobby, there are going to be more spots there or thereabouts. It just might not be their first choice.
So Gambit, I said they didn't have to move for around 3 or 4 minutes, and hey, they haven't. Simple as that. Still set up in these little tunnels surrounding Cage, and now they are going to be forced to move in around 2 minutes' time as that ring will start to close in on them. Rugby's still alive here for Luminosity Gaming, and this kind of performance, if you can rat out to a top 5, a top 4 placement, could really impact their potential finish. Everything matters at this point, with just 3 games remaining, including this one. Flavor of the month still. Having a little setup inside this building, which is inside that next zone, right deep in the pocket as well, so they'll be feeling pretty confident about where that ring might be pulling. Nades are going to go up into that shell-like building at the top. Doesn't connect with that Arc Star, unfortunately, so now we're going to see a little bit of calm. Like I mentioned, 6 squads taken out. It is giving these teams more positions to play from, and less engagements will be going down. Yeah,
a lot of teams starting to play a bit more passive now, reluctant to push out because they don't want to get caught off guard and be victim of that third party. As Nasky, Strafe and Dell, they're back up to full force here. But they are getting pushed, and it is going to be finalized. You want a little bit of this, and some big shots coming out of the Mastiff, and R99 in the back pocket as well for Brint. Bryn, who won that 1v1 earlier to keep them in the game. And then here comes Nasky
Oh
straight
my.
to Del, though. How on earth have they been able to do this? Strafey picking up some massive
Oh my.
shots. The 112.
Strafey!
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, that was huge, not just for that fight, but for Natsuki Strafendale to stay in this game. Huge performance and massive shots coming out, and I thought they were dead for rights there. The Gibraltar bubble pushed them off the high ground. The perfect thermite behind them as well almost cuts off their exit route, but somehow they turn that one around. Somehow they come out of that one on top, and that is massive for them. The comeback continues.
I mean, and Strafey was able to get up that Evo shield to red. Like, he is going to be a very scary, scary factor as we get to the latter stages of this game. As we just check in with North to see how they are doing. They have dropped off ever so slightly after dominating this leaderboard for so long throughout this grand finals. But maybe this is the game where they demonstrate to us why we should be not forgetting about how strong they can be. They've only had the one victory out of all of the games we've seen in these grand finals, but it's been their consistency which is what's kept them near the top of the leaderboards.
Well, major pushers are looking to push them out of this position now, and it's going to be pretty tough for them to do so. One player is actually still caught behind this rock, and this could be really bad news as the defensive bombardment goes down. Luckily for the player behind that, it is a Watson. And it's actually two players who were caught behind that rock. So the Watson managed to get that ult down to stop the bubble, but it looks like major pushers are going to try and live up to their name here and push behind North and try and finish them off, but it looks like Cleve has decided maybe this isn't the time to do that. Backs down smartly, plays for a little bit more of an endgame position.
Yeah, don't need to take any unnecessary fights here. Placement points, get yourself those guaranteed first, and then try and pick up some KP a little bit later on, when maybe you'll be come across some more vulnerable squads rather than these more healthy packs of 3. There's Na'Vi just sharing things out, just to ensure that they can get across and survive, because they are under a lot of fire through this window at the moment.
I think that's still the solo player rugby from Luminosity Gaming. Yes, it is. He's not in a bad position here as well. You can see he's got a pretty clear path into that next circle. The question is there a team above him? And yes, there is. It's Alliance who are just above him, and Alliance still involved in this game here. Don't have the greatest of armors to work with, but they do have a pretty good position to overlook the teams who are inside the ring, but they do have to move forward. They've got the Gibraltar to work with, though, so they can throw that bubble out. But the question for me is Rugby, as the solo, going to upset this push in from them?
Might certainly be a little bit of a thorn in their side, that's for sure. But I don't think he will be too much of a detriment. Na'Vi do have to move ever so slightly. I'm not sure whether they're going to be in the circle at the edge of this building. They might just be in where Nineimps is just residing. Yeah, they might just be in.
I think I know where they want to push.
Wait.
I think they're waiting for those ultimates. You saw the ultimate cells being used, and yes, it's going to be that team directly to the east who are in that building, which is right next to them inside that zone that they're going to be trying to take that fight from. So they're going to be looking to get aggressive. And here comes the push now. The silence goes in. They start to climb. They start to try and get some damage down. The doors are going to be silenced as well, but Na'Vi, unfortunately, one of them is going to be almost immediately reset. Medilol's going to be taken down, so this push pretty successful. You have to say from Na'Vi to get that one knock initially, set that pull up for the second push, but the shots from Graceful are going to back the Revenant down player as he cracks his shields, and this has just become a little bit more difficult here for Na'Vi.
Very difficult indeed. Claus is going to have to back off and shield up whilst the rest of the squad try and do some damage and get past all these Watson fences. You can see that the res potentially could be there, but here comes the EMP just to get rid of all of those fences, which is just all systems go. They can push in, but actually Na'Vi have lost 2 now. They need to be careful about a potential third party here.
Yeah, looking for that third party, and it's going to be a clean swipe here from Na'Vi. The only problem is that third party is just around the corner, and it's Natsuki, Strafe, and Del who are trying to close the gap on the top of that leaderboard with some KP. Nineimps desperately trying to get away from that situation. Shots coming in front of him. He'll be taken down. Na'Vi eliminated.
And Na'Vi not quite getting to that late game yet again, even though they have the aggression. They've been picking up some KP. They've just been pretty unfortunate with the positions they found themselves in when they do get aggressive, as that next circle isn't too far away from where Nasky, Strafe, and Del are. Actually, they might just be in the perfect spot in this building. I think they'll be more than happy with how this one has gone, as Outsiders are down to just 2, but they are going to be able to pick up a little bit of KP down in this little tunnel. Well, can they get Kadra up? That's the real question.
That's Flavor of the Month taken out. LG, the rat, was taken down as well while all this was going on. And Max, Strafey doing some big work in the kill feed as well. And I think that's Major Pushers who's been taken down. SJP2 still involved in this as well. Outsiders now making their push. Big shot with the Mastiff. Make that 2. Can he get the finish? Yes, he can. And OS taking down Kimzu here from SJP2. So huge squads at the top of our leaderboard, still involved in this final battle.
Yeah, I think this is what we expected when we get to a game like this, and when it gets to crunch time, a lot of these teams that know they're so close, within touching distance of potentially winning this tournament, they are going to play a little bit more safe. But Alliance and North both out, so SJP2 trying to get more of an advantage here at the top of this table. And of course, it was also going to be a chance for teams like you say to catch up those front runners at the same time.
Outsiders then. Plenty of ammo, plenty of heals, to work with. Looking to make a meal of this team. As I make a meal of my sentence, Outsiders now going to make that push onto the 2-man who are just going to be trying to run away. That's SJP2 who are in front of them. The Gibraltar Dome will go down, and now they have to be aware of a third party rotating in behind them. 5 squads remaining here. Round 5 closing in around 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, SJP2 just doing what they can to try and survive for a couple more placement points, I feel, but they need to be careful. Outsiders are doing the job, though. They're getting some big damage here, but they have lost one, almost lost a second, and now it's down to just Mistral on the side of Outsiders. SJP2 down to just Denze as well. They are dropping like flies right now, and it's going to be who can actually shield up at this point and get into an advantageous position where they can do some damage.
Here come Nasky, Strafe, and Del. Trying to land some wingman shots themselves. They have prime position. They also have place to fall back to here, which is huge in this situation. However, I tell you what is huge, and that is Natty getting knocked in this situation. They do have armor swaps inside this building to work with. They can be the third party. The problem is, have they managed to get that res in time to be an effective third party? It doesn't look like it is, so now Gambit are going to try and take that advantage to get the first knock. Nasky comes back with a second of his own. Hardeki's breaking shields, but surely this has to be Nasky straight from Dell unless Hardeki has something to say about it in the 1v1. And oh my god, he almost did! But Nasky straight from Dell hold on to win back-to-back games, and now you cannot say that the comeback is not alive.
It's definitely possible with the fact that Alliance and North started to drop some points, but SJP2 did put a decent amount on the board. And SJP2 now will be saying, okay, maybe this title is for the taking for us. But yeah, you're right. Any big games now, any consistent string of games by any team gives them the chance of getting back into things. And Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, when we look at their KP, that's really going to make the difference here. If they've made it like a 20 to 25 point game, then yeah, sure, they've got a definite chance now with 2 wins on the board.
We're going to take a look at the replays here, and for a second in that endgame, I just wondered if they had enough time to get that res and make an effective push as the third party, but they managed to clutch up. Hardeki did everything possible to win that 1v1. Just for a second, you thought Mr. Clutch was going to clutch up once again. And speaking of clutch, it was actually Bryn at the start of this game who pretty much 3v1'd that team over at the Swamps. Or should I say, excuse me, over at the Slums.
Yeah, that was a great 1v3. And that was really fun to watch. And then the 1v1 it just came down to it at the end was clutch. But a lot of teams were trying to rotate in late at this point, but it was those teams that were able to get into the early prime positions that really excelled in the latter stages of this Kings Canyon game. And I was certainly very impressed with what Nasky, Strafe, and Dell were able to do here. Even though they had that early knock in that last fight, they were able to pick them up quick enough to get involved and make sure they took advantage.
Came down to these fights at the end then, and you can see SJP2 did everything they could to be involved, and oh, that knock was just so influential, almost onto Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and you can see Dell here, big shot to finish that off. He had to hit that shot, but Dell, the man that they love to say is the reason they win so many team fights, is that man again. And that, for them, I mean, he doesn't win that fight, SJP2 could have been in a position to really shake things up then.
Yeah, they certainly were in position, and I'm really excited to see how these standings look. But before we get to look at them, we're of course going to go for a quick break before we get into matches 7 and 8 here on Kings Canyon. I'm very excited. You should be too, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody, and it is coming down to the wire. 2 days of action, and now we have just 2 games remaining in the GLL Masters Summer, and at this point, I genuinely have no idea who is going to be crowned our champion. It's been a crazy day, Dan, and as I say, everyone is performing, and it could be anyone. It really has come down to these final 2 games.
It definitely has indeed. I mean, that victory for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, 2 back-to-back, that will take them up into the top 4 or top 3, I believe. But we're going to find out now as we look at the leaderboards and look at the scoreboards of how things go. It's going to depend how many kills they picked up.
Oh my God!
Holy mother of Apex. I mean, 17 kills, 29. That's going to take them up to top 3, Mark. They're going to go ahead of North because North were in 18.
Oh my God!
That's unreal.
That is the bomb of bombs. 29 points on the board. First place, 17 kills from Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. I've been talking about the comeback. Well, it is a comeback at this point. They are very much in contention to win this tournament now. For North, though, down in 18th place, and this is what it means. SJP2 on top by 1 single point ahead of Alliance. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell now just 5 points, excuse me, behind SJP2. And my word, this is still anyone's game. Adhoc on 92 points with 2 games to go. Still doable. Still very doable.
Yeah, I'd say those 7 teams have real chance of doing something here. I mean, you'd need 2 massive games from anyone outside of that, but things are getting, excuse me, tighter and tighter between all these teams. But Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, 2 back-to-back victories, Mark. I mean, if they carry on rolling like this, the reason why they can't win the whole thing.
Unbelievable stuff from Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. 17 kills when your backs are against the wall and you want to be known as the best team in the EMEA region. Well, take your hat off to them, but the work is not done yet. That is just the start of the hard work here for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. They've started to find that form that we know they have, though. As Figvam and Finalized, well, they're going to say hello to each other once again. The angry neighbors are going to be kicking down each other's fences again.
Finalized already lost 1, and you'd think one of them would just back off at this point and stop taking these battles, but I guess when you are set in your ways and you've got your drop location, you for sure just want to be confident and you want to take that fight. And Finalized seem to be the team coming out on top at the moment. You never know what might happen, but here comes some big damage, and the Gibby's doing a lot with this auto shotgun. Actually, this is going to be really bad for Finalized if Blast can't survive here.
Needs to hit these alternator shots, but getting a little bit whiffy, and he's only got a few bullets to work with. The bubble does go down, and that's 2-1 to Finalized. And that's the score that matters here. You can see that Bryn's banner has to be recovered, but it will do. Blast comes up clutch this time for his squad, so it will be. Unfortunately, Lava City Boys will be eliminated first once again, and you would expect them maybe to drop off, although both of these teams maybe not in contention at the top of the table, so maybe we'll get a draw by the end of Kings Canyon here. Maybe we'll end up at 2-2. Lava City Boys, I believe in you. You win the next one.
They've only got 1 more chance to make up for it. That's going to be a very western circle then towards airbase, and I would imagine that a lot of these teams will start setting up towards the airbase side as well, especially with a beacon there for people to work with. But there's a lot of teams on the eastern side, so there's going to be big movement here. And Mark, there's going to be a lot of choke points for people to have to move through.
Yeah, it's going to be a long rotation for a lot of teams here. We saw an airbase finish yesterday in North. This is the game that they won around airbase, so they're going to feel pretty confident if they can get into a similar position that they did last time. Nasty, Strafe, and Dell, now they're looted up, are going to have to make their moves. And interesting to see, since we've moved over to Kings Canyon, these guys have started popping off. And it's been because of the fact that they've got to that first engagement and they haven't had the armors that they did over on World's Edge. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it than that, but obviously dropping out artillery on the edge of the map, you're going to get a little bit of a higher loot table a lot of the time. But LG, changing composition for them here, Dan. They want to have a slice of the action themselves, and with 2 games to go, if they want to be champs, they've got to put up a monster game.
Yeah, they have to. They're in 10th at the moment on 74 points, so they are behind by over 32. So they need a mammoth of a game to really catch up these front runners, and they need realistically 2 mammoth games to actually win this entire thing. Flavor of the month have dropped off ever so slightly down to 8th now at this point, but they've still been somewhat consistent with their finishes. But again, it's going to come down to a big game and a big victory for them if they have a real chance of winning things.
Yeah, hasn't got a charge rifle. Things really are turning on their heads here towards the end of our EMEA Grand Finals. Another team who's trying to get aggressive here is Cooler Esports. The portal's going to go out to try and get this team that they're trying to fight out of dodge, but the only problem is, we found you, as LCB are going to be taken down by Cooler Esports. Very easy for them to do so. That's going to be Cooler with 3 KP on the board, and you're already seeing the increase in aggression from this chasing pack as FigFam, excuse me, I got mixed up at the start of the game. Lava City Boys are now out, as I believed it was Lava City Boys who were challenged them, but now they are out of the game, and we're down to 18.
Down to 18. I think we just have to keep a keen eye really on the top squads here, and if any of them do drop off early, potentially could be their chances of winning this thing out of the window, depending how everyone else performs around them. So there's a lot of implications for just getting to the late game for a lot of these top teams. So I'll try my best to keep an eye on the kill feed and keep all you guys at home up to date as well. I mean, just as a reminder, the teams we're looking at: SJP2 in first, Alliance in second, Nasky Strafe and Dell in third, and then Major Pushers and North currently tied on fourth. And I would still say TI, Third Impact, and Ad Hoc Gaming in sixth and seventh definitely still have a chance to take things away here.
So Luminosity then running this Revenant Crypto combo that we haven't really seen them run so far today. Let's see what they can get done in this game. See if they can put one of those big KP performances on the board. Although if it's something that you haven't been practicing yourself, which I'm sure they of course have been, to run that comp right now, it isn't just a case of picking those characters and having the effect that you want to have. Cooler Esports, who we just saw won this winner battle, a few moments ago, are going to be around the 2 spines area, now rotating out towards the farm. They've got a long way to go, and so have Major Pushers as well, a team who's kind of in a similar kind of area, but just ahead of them here and looking to head through this choke.
You just need to make sure that you... Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're a team with a caustic, just drop a couple of traps behind you so that you can escape effectively and get that information in case anyone is going to be pushing from behind. And it's just going to be a nice old comfortable slide down this hill as you get into the next circle. I wonder how many teams have already found themselves into artillery. That's going to be the real question from me. Because the circle was heavily heading that way. Maybe we're going to see some aggression here. There's a little hiding crypto drone just trying to get some info.
Let's move here.
The airbase is where everyone is trying to move to.
That's what I meant. Not artillery, definitely airbase.
I wasn't going to correct you. I knew.
Oh, no, you did just correct me, and that's good. That's what you meant to do.
No, I didn't say, Dan, you're wrong.
You should have. I would have done it to you.
Yeah, but I'm nicer than you.
Oh, yeah, that's...
I'm not.
Are you?
I'm not. I'm so much worse. But Outsiders have found their way towards airbase now and are looking to just spot out a little area for them to move into. 18 squads remaining. I am expecting actually a little bit of a slower game, like we mentioned previously. A lot of teams can get to this end zone. It's just about taking control of this height, and the team that has it at the moment is North. We saw them win this game from kind of the opposite height to where they are, just on those rocks, just to the west of where they are right now, or the north of where they are right now. My compass still spinning around like a crazy man. But now they've got to work from the opposite side of airbase. The question is, can they have the same results from this position?
Of course they can. It's just going to be a lot more difficult to do so, as Gambit just waiting, ensuring there's not going to be anyone ambushing them in these many crossroads, as they'll slowly make their way down. And already there's a couple of players just trying to scarper their way towards the next circle mark on their own. As you can see, another rat, and it's going to be Exorcism down to just the one. I mean, Exorcism are all the way down in 18th place at the moment. But of course, prize money paying out to what is top 8. So still plenty to play for, even if you're not thinking you're going to be able to win here.
It's just found themselves a very cozy little corner here, and it looks like they might be in the process of starting a little fire and breaking out a little bottle of wine while they sit down there, just to make themselves nice and relaxed and chilled out. But they're going to be comfy there for a while. Flavor of the Month trying to make another team pretty uncomfortable just on the outside of market, and they're going to be actually being held out by this team. So gotta land some shots as the zone is going to be closing in behind them. Not just checking his back to make sure there's no late rotators, which there won't be. And you really can feel the nerves in the lobby at the moment. Everybody waiting for each other to make that move. You don't want to be the team to make the mistake here in this lobby now.
Absolutely not. The first mistake could cost you potentially all that prize money. and a chance to get to that first place position. I think everyone in this lobby is going to be keeping a keen eye on the kill feed to see if anyone above them falls earlier than they do.
Luminosity then are the team who are going up against Flavor of the Month in this battle. And you're going to see the drone moved in here, and it looks like Flavor of the Month have backed up and are actually going to rotate away from that. Maybe they recognized that was Luminosity and they saw the comp that they were running, so they thought, I'll tell you what, we don't really fancy a Crypto and a Revenant running at us, so we're going to back down here and take a wider rotation as they move back through the Middle River area towards some of these huts that are going to be set up. And you can see there's no one really around them at the moment, moving in from the far side of the ring. That means they will eventually have to move through some teams, however. So for Flavor of the Month, pretty difficult rotation as we see a Watson just sitting down, picking some daisies.
Fortunately, though, been spotted out. So the life of Watson is going to come to its conclusion very abruptly. And that's going to be a shame because that's going to be the 18th squad eliminated. Flavor of the Month, well, they're under a little bit of a fire here, Mark. They do have utility to try and kind of burst their way out with some grenades, maybe to back off. And actually, it's just Noth, really, who is in a tough position right now. He's very much away from the other two teammates. And as the Watson, you don't necessarily have the ability to escape as comfortably as the other two.
Yeah, and here goes third impact then. They've deciphered the area that they want to try and take and get aggressive on, and it looks like there is actually a team behind them, and that portal has been taken immediately. As soon as you leave that place, it leaves it open for another team to come and push onto you, and now trying to be aggressive really might have backfired here as Lazarus tried to push on them. They will get away, and third impact will have to revive Ballon G here. But it looks like they will be able to. A secondary push won't be coming in. It's actually the banner that's gone down, so excuse me, it has been finished in all of this craziness that's just been going on.
So whether they go for it or not, it looks like they are going to attempt to get it. As the revive comes through in the room just forward, and the bullets are sprayed out, but at least the banner has been picked up, and they can access the items, but grenades coming through onto Lazarus Esports here. Lazarus not in a good spot. Having to take this portal to try and escape, but they are going to be under fire from several different teams. They're just doing what they can to survive.
Yeah, amazing decision-making in that scuffle that just went on from Lazarus to get that portal down to a safe position to stay alive as a three-man as well, while all those grenades were coming in after the Watson interception pylon was taken down. Pretty good for them, to be honest, as they now stack up on top of each other, and it's like one of those games, you know, where they put the ball under the cup and you've got to wonder who's coming out next. Is it Watson? Is it Wraith? Is it Pathfinder? Well, it's all of them.
Lazarus, they want to get back into that loot. They don't want to give that loot away. And it was such a dangerous position to be in, but they're right back up there as soon as they realized that maybe teams weren't going to be residing there anymore. They are back in. Well, it's not going to go straight into airbase. Actually, it's going to go slightly more east towards Bunkertown, and just maybe slightly south of Bunkertown might be where we see a finish here, Mark.
Yeah, High Desert is certainly going to be a contested area. And some of those buildings, and Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are on the outside of the zone at the moment. LG getting involved in the kill feed as well, as Pierre's going to be taken down by Sanya. Damage coming in here onto Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, the winners of our last two games, remember, with that huge 17-kill win. And put themselves in a pretty good position as Luminosity Gaming are going to have to move back here. You can see that Sanya is set up on the drone, trying to scout out some players, and for Flavor of the Month now, it's a case of survival for Noth. Pretty difficult game for them so far, coming to a lot of pressure from a lot of different teams, but at least he's found somewhere to get away here just for a few moments and heal up.
With 16 squads left. I mean, everyone just starting to slow things down a little bit. And I really feel like it's because that top six are just kind of waiting for someone else to make a move. But as I say that, things are heating up for Nasky, Strafe, and Dow, and they will too. And after the back-to-back victories, Nasky, Strafe, and Dow go out in 16th. So suddenly, a team that looked to make this miraculous comeback might be struggling, as they're going to have to rely on game number 16 if they're going to do anything.
The final game as well for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. It all comes down to that for them. They will be out, like you say. 15 squads now remaining in our penultimate game here on Kings Canyon, and Vibin holding down this bunker. They will have to move through. They do have that Evo shield to work with as well, and some pretty decent armor to go alongside that, so Not going to be too much of a job. I just wonder if there is a team up ahead of them. It doesn't look like there is on the map overhead, so they should have control of Bunker here pretty much to themselves. It's all about that next move now for Vibin. How do they try and find a spot in that next circle?
A little bit of a rat cam, side by side rat cam as well. Who can be the more successful rat? Jules is going to be the last remaining player from Cooler Esports, and North from Flavor of the Month. Now, North has does some pretty big things for Flavor of the Month, being a rat, so that's going to be at least 2 squads who are down quite low. Vibin are in residence in Bunker at the moment, so all those teams that are coming out from one side, they might be able to play a little bit of a choke here, but they have to push out themselves. So if they get pushed from behind, this is not going to be a good spot for them.
Well, 2 players are going to hit the totem, but unfortunately it's not going to be good enough because Gambit are holding the doors. They're going to have to push. They're going to have to exit this way, and this should be easy KP for Gambit. One player does get silenced, but they are trapped without a hope here. But Alliance come in, and Gambit, for all of the good that they thought they were doing, Alliance say thank you very much and will move in and swoop in to pick up these KP. This is what Alliance needed, and they are executing Gambit here.
Yeah, see, this is what I want to see from those teams who are at the top, just taking that moment and seizing the opportunity, recognizing they are at the top and they can't just afford to wait for someone else to make the mistake. Instead, take things into their own hands here. And Alliance picking up some big kills, giving themselves more of a chance to have the advantage going into the final game.
Yeah, a lot of rats about here. Like you say, we've got 9ups here from Na'Vi still involved in this game. No poetry for now, but I'll tell you what, if you all behave in the chat, maybe there'll be something to sign off with a little bit later. Major pushers. A 3-man inside of High Desert here as well in Bunker Town. Caustic to play with, of course, so they're going to be pretty good at holding down one of these buildings if they need to. Finalized have made their way inside as well after that early win over at Slum Lakes. And North is still in as well, as I just saw that Taishin managed to get a knock in the feed, so RPR's going to be involved in a fight as well. This is big for North.
This could be a make or break moment, really. I mean, if North go down, then that would be a huge opportunity for so many of these other teams. But I mean, North, who were in first for so long, now in 5th, and they're the ones playing catch up. Tashin goes down. The Reds should be comfortable. And I do remember the game that North did win in this finals. So of the 14 we've already had, the one successful was kind of this airbase finish. Now, even though it's not quite in airbase, it's definitely a place they seem to be more comfortable. I'm just wondering who out of the big teams is going to fall first, Mark.
I think that's the question that everyone's kind of looking for the answer to. Bated breath. Is it going to be Alliance? Is it going to be North? Shots here from Cleve as well into this little building. Walking forward, that arm shield up as well to give him that extra HP to work with. HG's still in this game as well. It looks like Luminosity might have just fallen, or a couple of players at least. Outsiders now getting pushed. SJP2 still involved as well. And keep an eye on that top right hand of your screen as well, because single players from different teams are all falling, and I think the flavor of the month might now be eliminated.
Yeah, Outsiders lost a man as well. LG have been taken out. And we still get a little home in on what Raps are left. Raps, they're entirely different to Rats.
You hungry?
Maybe I'm just thinking about the poems now, as we can see major pushers get involved and take down another Rat. Lazarus fall. North have just lost RPR as well. You can see SJP2 were the ones who were actually getting in there, but SJP2 lose Denze. North lose to Sheen. I mean, there is players dropping like flies in the kill feed, Mark, and they're all from big teams. It's actually North and SJP2 having an engagement right now.
Yeah, if we could turn over to North or SJP2 and see what's happening between those two teams, they're the ones that we need to keep our eyes on as this game does roll on. North are still alive here, so they've held off that push. That is massive for their chances of winning this tournament. Outsiders getting involved with Lazarus, RPR, trying to get those shields back up, as are the rest of his teammates. Mandy's going to find himself a nice fully charged Evo shield to work with, and they've got around a minute or so to plan their next move. Not too much space in front of them or land to move across to actually make their way into that next circle, and they did win that fight against SJP2. SJP2 are out, but Alliance are still in.
So that's SJP2 who were in first. They get eliminated down in 11th place. So big opportunity for Alliance, major pushes, and North to start catching people up. Of course, Naski, Strafe, and Dell were eliminated earlier. They were in third before this game, but they're not going to be able to climb up the leaderboard until the next match, as Alliance do receive a couple of bullets in the backside as they try and move their way towards this next circle. And with 9 squads left and the circle getting smaller and smaller, in 10 seconds, there is going to be all hell breaking loose as RPR does go down on the side of North, and it's going to be Outsiders taking him down.
Yeah, Nessie making their portal as well. So they're going to be just inside this circle. There's going to be a lot of fighting going down, but North somehow have seemed to turn this around once more, and Mandy is clutching up in big situations. He's going to be able to stay alive. There is Tashin getting through. They have lost RPR, but they're still involved in this fight. They are also inside of the circle. Watson Fence is going up desperately here, as you're going to see another team now pushing. It's going to be Nessie trying to get involved themselves. Gibraltar Bubbles and Gibraltar Ultimates coming down as well. Tashin will be taken down here by Graceful. Alliance will lose Hackis in all of this carnage as well, as Maydilol now moves in, and that's going to be, I believe, North now eliminated from this game, as we now see our last 5 squads remaining.
I think Alliance were wiped as well. They've falling means that that's going to be Alliance out, and we're down to just 5, but major pushes can really take advantage of this mark. With North being eliminated, Alliance gone out, SJP2 as well. Major pushes can make a major stamp on this tournament if they can get a big victory here, and they are in a good position to do so, doing so damage. And now the kill leader here for Cleve, he's picked up 5.
Yeah, huge stuff from there, and the digital threat on that Prowler is making the difference, shooting through that caustic gas, giving him a huge advantage. Major pushers, Nessie, Lazarus Esports, and Gambit still involved, but Lazarus and Gambit with only 1 player remaining. So it's kind of here between Major pushers and Nessie, you would say, but Maydilol looks like he might have disconnected, unfortunately, and what a time to do so. But he's back in the game. It's all good.
He's back in the game, just straight back up. And yeah, you've done very well there. Ha, Squirrel! There is still a lone survivor. Little sneaky squirrel. I was going to say sneaky beaver, but I mean, sneaky squirrel makes sense. Just being so calm now, so patient. Not opting to shoot anything, instead just saying, you know what, I'm gonna wait for everyone to make their move, and then maybe I'll come into the battle a little bit later. But here comes the next circle, and this is all going to be a big chance for now for these teams to pick up points.
Major pushers have not realized that that player is in the tree, as you say, playing it very patiently, making as little noise as possible. Hardeki's going to go down here for Gambit. He was the last player alive for them. Nessie now making that push in. No shots are going to connect there with the wingman, but the shots here from JMW will push, as they manage to make it 2 now, and surely this is the last man alive. Big shot there from the Peacekeeper, and Nessie will win their second game of the day. And although that's impressive, what impact is that going to have on our leaderboards heading towards our final game here in our EMEA Grand Finals? Congratulations to Maydilol, Graceful, and JMW, but I mean, the bigger picture and the bigger story is North surviving a little bit longer, going to push them up the leaderboards. Is Alliance's kill points going to factor into this? I mean, it's still completely up for grabs. After 15 games of Apex Legends, we still don't know who is going to be champ.
I think major pushes were the biggest winners of that particular game, if I'm completely honest. They were in 4th coming into this, just 11 points behind SJP2, and they were able to get to that end game, and for a while they were kill leader as well. So they got some decent KP to work with. Yes, okay, Alliance would have been able to, of course, gain some real ground on SJP2, with SJP2 falling a little bit earlier than them. North also would have picked up some points over the likes of Naski, Strafe, and Dell. So the top 3 is definitely going to shift ever so slightly. I still think we are in the situation where we're looking at 5 teams now going into this final game as to who's going to be our favorite. Even though Nessie picked up a victory there, they were over 50 points behind first place. So yes, okay, it's possible if they had a mad last final game, but I think that they are still not really one of the teams we're going to be considering as overall winners of this tournament.
So after 15 games of Apex Legends across 2 maps, we still don't have a clear favorite for our championship. I mean, it couldn't be closer. We always talk about how the EMEA region has this incredible depth, and if you were questioning that and you thought there was a couple of teams who really have separated themselves from the rest, well, this is the answer back for that. I mean, it's all set up here for an insane final game. Make sure you tweet out the stream, tell all your friends about this. Let's get this thing going, all right, for this final game of the day. We're going to have one more break, and then we will be back to crown a champion. Apex fans, it all comes down to this. 16 games, 2 days of action for the EMEA region, and we still do not know who is going to become your champion. It could not be tighter at the top of the table, and after 15 games, there's a couple of teams who are out in front, but I mean, those point margins, they are wafer thin, Dan.
Yeah, major pushers are going to be right up there. Joint first, if I've done my maths correctly, which, as I said, they were the big winners from that game, seeing other teams around them being eliminated, and they still got to the latter stages. Considering they've only won 1 out of these 15 games, and the fact they're going to be joint top just shows how consistent they've been. They've gone under the radar a little bit. We've spoke about a lot of these other teams at the top, but major pushers, they've been there or thereabouts so often, which is why they have been performing so well and why they've been able to get so many points. But also, the amount of kill points they've been picking up has been impressive as well.
Yeah, it's been amazing stuff from them. And we're going to have to see how those tables look very, very soon as we do get ready for our final game. I mean, do me a favor, everyone who's watching now. Open up Twitter, open up your social media, hit that link to Twitch right now, because we should get as many eyes on this final game as possible. And just remember, this is just the EMEA region that we're going to be crowning the champions for. We have the Americas coming up later, where Bravo and Golden Boy will be taking you through the action. This is the scoreboard from the last game. 10 kills on the board for Nessie, 12 placement points, but you were right, Dan. Major pushers with 15 points. North, though, in 6th with 7 points. That could be big. Alliance also picking up points, so this is going to be crazy close.
Yeah, major pushers and Alliance are going to be topping the overall leaderboards, just with everyone else just behind. I think we're down to 5 for the front runners, but I mean, I'm still excited. I still think that the teams that are in 6th and 7th could maybe pull an upset here as we look at it.
Oh,
major
my
pushers and Alliance both on 120, and then SJP2 not far behind. Nasky Strafe and Dell still with their chance to do it, and North. And then who knows, maybe Ad Hoc Gaming can still make a very late push, but it's going to be difficult.
There are 8 points between 1st and 5th. 8 points after 15 games. And Ad Hoc Gaming and Third Impact, also a bomb game from them, and you never know what could happen here. For everyone else, I think that their chances unfortunately have gone. But wow, you talked about major pushers and how they've gone under the radar. Well, they've announced themselves to the lobby now, and it is time for our final game of the grand finals. Dan Gaskin has a smile on his face because he knows this one's going to be an absolute banger. The EMEA finals has not disappointed. It's game 16 of 16, and major pushers are just about on top.
It's just how close this lobby has been. Whenever we thought that someone was going to start to break away and someone was going to start to take a clear advantage, suddenly another team just came into the fold and said, actually, you've forgotten about us. We still have the potential to win this tournament. And it means now we have realistically 5 teams who all they need to do is win the game, and they should win the tournament. Major pushers, Alliance, SJP2, Nasky Strafe and Dell, and then just behind them, North as well. Those are going to be my big 5 that I'm going to be focusing on this tournament, as we see in the kill feed, Lava City Boys and Cooler are already having a little bit of an engagement.
Yes, they are. And I wanted to stay on board with that other battle because you were talking about a bigger picture. I wanted to see who was going to win the Battle of Slum Lakes, because it was 2-1 to finalize, but there was the opportunity for FigFam to tie that one up. However, fighting still going on here outside of Cage. There's going to be a crack there, but going to be exchanged pretty quickly, and now Rowe is going to be in a 1v1 here, should win this battle, and does comfortably. That will be the end of Lava City Boys' competition. Congratulations for them for making it this far from our EMEA region and putting up one hell of a performance.
That probably means they're going to finish in dead last as well. They were actually in 19th coming into this, but they were a point ahead of FigFam. So providing FigFam actually pick up a couple of points and do manage to get out of the early game, then maybe we'll see Lava City Boys finishing in last. But certainly not the last time we will see that team. They're doing some big things in other tournaments, so I'm excited to see what they have to offer in the future, as the battle in Slum Lakes is still going down between Finalized and FigFam.
Nice shots there from Carrie Rubik, and so nice that he's going to actually level up that Evo shield as well. He's going to pop a cell to make sure that he's got that blue armor rocking and rolling. Not a lot of ammo to work with, but he does have the 3 times on that single tap hemlock. So if anyone pops their head out, he's going to be able to peel that off, or at least give them a little bit of a haircut. FigFam still involved in this battle, which has gone on for quite a long time. The one good thing about Slum Lakes is it's pretty isolated on the map, so you're not going to have any third parties coming to get involved.
Yeah, no one's gonna come and get involved in this. They're like, oh, Figvam and Finalize, they're at it again. Just let them be, let them do whatever they want, and we'll maybe pick up the scraps later on when they rotate in.
Speaking of rotating in, the Gibraltar's getting nice and aggressive here, but unfortunately for him, he's going to be taken down almost immediately, so a 3v2 situation. And Figvam with a chance to tie up this mini battle that's been going on here on Kings Canyon. Harry Rubik's going to be backing down, though, to pop those shield cells. Still a 3v2 situation, I believe, and Carrie Rubik now trying to get a little bit of a flank, and Finalize now down to their final player. Figvam tied up, 2-2. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get on with the rest of the game.
Not only that, but it means Figvam won't be finishing dead last in this tournament as well. They've picked up some KP to take themselves above Lava City Boys, and they can look to see if they can maybe jump up potentially to the likes and the dizzy heights of 18th place, as Outsiders have taken down Cooler Row. So Cooler Esports look like they are going to be another team struggling in the early stages of this game.
OS set up here. If we can take a look at the map overhead, that will be huge. Beautiful stuff. You can see the cage right in the middle of that, and it looks like it could be, you can see that ping of that end circle that does finish just on that low ground, on that slope down from where the cage is. So the cage is going to be very, very highly coveted by a lot of these teams trying to make their way in. And Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are one of those teams who, if they pull this off, it would be one of the best comebacks that we have seen so far in Apex Legends competitive history.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be very disappointed they weren't able to pick up some serious points in the last game, but after seeing how the scoreboard went and them seeing the other top teams also falling short, it means they're still in touching distance of that possibility of finishing in first. As Vibin now going to get aggressive with this totem, but bullets flying in from everywhere. They might have to actually opt to retreat here as Joke will get taken down. And they were trying to get aggressive on another team, but the third party came in maybe quicker than they expected.
Yeah, they're out of here. Vibin are taken down. They are Vibin no longer, as LG are the team to move in on their position and clean up those kills. They'll be well within that second circle. As you can see in the top left-hand side of your screen as well. Vibin finalized and Lava City Boys all eliminated so far in this game, but none of those teams are contesting for that first place spot, which means that as these teams dwindle down, it's going to be interesting to see who we have left standing at the end of it. LG coming under a lot of pressure, though, as we see the EMP coming in. Sanya has been knocked, but they should be able to get a res up. But that portal is looking pretty dangerous as AHG were the team who are trying to get some sneaky shots onto Luminosity there.
And even though Ad Hoc Gaming aren't necessarily in my big five, they are currently in 6th. They are 21 points behind first. So it's not outside the realms of possibility if we see some of these big teams drop off and they were to win with a lot of KP. Certainly a lot to do with only one match remaining. And they are going to get aggressive onto this team and see if they can pick up some KP early on in this tournament. In this game, sorry.
Sipeth's going to be silenced here and does actually get taken down. Big massive shots coming in, and this is looking brutal for AHG. Luminosity Gaming say that push was not well judged, my friends. And they will take them down. I think the one player did manage to escape there. You can see Matafa. It was actually 2. Kuya managed to get out of dodge as well. So for all the damage that was done by Luminosity, just the 1 KP to speak of. Zipith will have fallen. Na'Vi, unfortunately, will have 1 player taken down. And now it's going to be up to 9 to try and get away from this situation. Going to have to go into the void to try and force off this team and survive to fight another day. And that team who's chasing him, well, I think it's Nasky, Strafe, and Dell.
It is. They were already able to pick up 2. I also saw Gambit were eliminated during this little bit of a scrap on this side of the map at the same time. But Nasky, Strafe, and Dell poised perfectly in terms of the armor that they've been able to pick up. And some early KP for them as well. As already, we're going to have to see a couple of teams just resorting to ratting it out. It is going to be Na'Vi. I don't think he's going to be able to get banners here, but he certainly is going to have a little sniff towards them.
So 4 squads eliminated here in this final game. Again, none of them really in contention at the top of the leaderboard. That means every other fight that is going to be going on as the teams dwindle down will mean more and more. And I'm still trying to get away. I think that Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are still... I've seen him, rotate away. You heard a few wingman shots in the distance, and they might get a little bit thirsty for this kill. And why not in a 3v1 situation? You just got to be careful that you don't get separated. And that communication is clear and crisp on what you want to do in this situation.
Got plenty of vision, Dunaski strafing down at the moment across the open areas of this map, so they can plan their pushes accordingly, and they can start to think about this rotation. They can see where various people may be residing. As 9imps is gonna just try and escape on this jump tower here. He's not going to go all the way up, though. As soon as those bullets started to fly towards his backside, he was very much off that rope instantly. Hello.
SJP2. They are set up inside of the area just outside of Hydro Dam. These Hydro tunnels. And you can see why. There's a couple of teams, 3 teams actually, inside of Hydro Dam. So they're kind of gatekeeping all these teams if they want to rotate through, and they're playing it very, very sneaky. And they could catch one of these teams off guard quite easily, and they've got a rotation as well ahead of them towards the cage, so they're in a really nice position here to work from.
Let's go this way.
The majority of people have been able to get into the circle now, but it's just about where this next circle is going to go. Teams around cage, I feel like, are in a somewhat advantageous spot. Adult Gaming, after losing Zipeth in that slightly difficult push for them, have at least been able to get away. Because, I mean, we have to remember, Mark, I mean, we keep talking about first place and how these people are going to be playing for first position. There is money available for top 8. So if you get up to 5th, I mean, that's going to be a couple of $1,000 for you.
Let's go this way.
So it doesn't matter necessarily if you can't push all the way for first place. You still want to play for every extra position to try and get a little bit more money for the squad.
Lazarus Esports now trying to make that portal to make their move on the position they want to be. And that is where
You're in their sights.
one team was set up inside. So they've got to be very aware of that angle themselves. Na'Vi will be taken down. Last player has finally been eliminated. And Lazarus Esports here on the first 2 floors of cage, trying to control as much of this as possible. I do wonder if there's a team actually above them on the top of cage, or if they have the complete control of cage. And it's going to be Ida here, who has to level up that Evo shield as well. You can see he's only just picked that up fresh, so he's going to have to land a couple of wingman shots if he wants to have enough armor to really fight in these endgames.
Maybe something good this way.
Lazarus have impressed me today. I'm going to be completely honest. They had a pretty shoddy day.
Yeah.
On Saturday, yesterday in the tournament, and they've turned up today. They've actually been there or thereabouts in quite a lot of end games, and of course finding a victory of their own, finding a 2nd place. A little bit too late for them to make any sort of miraculous comeback to get into that top 10. But they've certainly demonstrated that they can hang with some of the best teams in the EMEA region. Outsiders, I would say, in a great spot here on the top of cage, and in 15 seconds we're going to see where this next circle starts to head towards. As we move over to Alliance, and Alliance, well, they do have a chance of winning this, Mark. Tied 1st place at the moment.
Tied 1st place after 15 games of Apex Legends. It's just crazy to say, isn't it? Like, it's almost as if you couldn't write this kind of script, but here we are, and we're looking for that final chapter. Who's going to be the villain and who is going to be the hero? Luminosity Gaming making their move here towards Repulsor, and they're going to be playing the edge of the circle. Cooler Esports are just up above them with the high ground. The only problem is they have 2 players alive, so it's not going to be a straight fight, although the advantage, you have to say, maybe with Cooler in this situation with the height, as they should just about be in. But as I say that, LG, they got the opportunity to push now because they've hit that EMP, and for Ro, it looks like this could be the end of the road. No, he actually manages to just slide down and stay alive, but he's going to have a tough way towards that zone, and that will be North actually moving in to finish off that kill. So a KP stolen here by North.
Yeah, North doing really well to recognize when they can pick up some free KP, and they do need it. 8 points short of 1st place are North at the moment, so yes, okay, a victory would go a long way, but they might need some kill points alongside it. And I mean, are we even going to see one of these big 5 win these games, or are we going to see a team like Nessie step up and just snatch away those placement points? As here comes a little bit of aggression out of 3rd Impact, and it's going to be Exorcism on the receiving end of it. Big shots actually coming out. A stand here. And that is not going to be how 3rd Impact wanted to actually push.
Did get the armor swap off, and Flavor of the Month now in a little bit of trouble themselves, but it looks like they've actually just won a battle in the kill feed against Ad Hoc Gaming. So those final 2 players have been taken down, and what looked like a bit of trouble as we switched over and saw a couple of down players isn't actually the worst story in the world. If anything, it's good news for them. As Jazz here from Third Impact, now last player alive. And you can see, I think it was actually Major Pushers who are in position to finish off Ballon G from Third Impact there. So he's going to be popping the Phoenix now to try and get into position to wrap this game out. But that could be enough for Third Impact. I don't think they're going to have enough in the tank here to really mount a challenge.
No, I mean, with Ad Hoc Gaming going down and Third Impact down to just the 1 player, that means that 6th and 7th are really out of contention of winning this tournament. We are looking at this big 5, and all 5 of them are still in the lobby. Major Pushers, Alliance, SJP2, Nasky, Strafe and Dell, and North. If any of these teams win this game, alongside just a little bit of KP, you have to feel like they are going to be taking this tournament. That is how closely contested all 5 of them are. Only 8 points in it after 15 matches of Apex Legends.
Insane stuff. Insane stuff here in our EMEA finals. Major Pushers then. Winners of our last game to give themselves a chance. Big shots in from the 301 are going to crack that player as well, and that's going to be a solo as well. That's going to be Jazz from Third Impact who's trying to scuttle away here. And just think about this. After 15 games, 5 teams of the 12 left could still win this tournament. Not just this game, this tournament overall. That is how tight it is between them. Flavor of the Month, LG, Lazarus Esports, Nessie, Cooler, Third Impact, Major Pushers Outsiders, Na'Vi, Gambit, Alliance, Figvam, Nasky, Strafe and Dell, North, and SJP2. North have that 1 KP on the board, and you can see here highlighted, Nasky, Strafe and Dell have 2 to work with.
1 for Major Pushers as well. And then for Alliance, just the single for them. So, in terms of KP, all pretty similar at the moment. I'm sure all these 5 teams now are going to be very, very careful about their process of getting into this next circle, trying to get to this end game.
This is a scary moment here for Major Pushers. They don't know what's clear, they don't know what's open, and they've run into an angry Nasky, Strafe, and Dell as Nasky moves in with the Mastiff, does get the down here. This could be a huge swing in this game as one of Major Pushers has been taken down by Nasky, Strafe, and Dell.
That is a massive shame for Major Pushers. Our joint leaders at the moment are down to just 2. The Gibby just caught without a hope there. And Nasky, Strafe and Dell quite rightly taking advantage of that, and I'm sure they will be delighted to see the name that was on the kill feed. Give them the chance and the possibility of catching Major Pushers. SJP2, of course, another one of our teams that we have to keep an eye on. They have a couple of members of another team near them. They are very central in this circle, so they are set up for the end game, but they don't really have much real estate to work with. They are being shot from several different directions, so they need to find a home here in the center of this circle.
I think it might be Alliance, who are the team who are ahead of them. We'll have to check that, of course. And we'll find out soon enough, as they are going to be central zone, and teams are going to be trying to pressure them in this position. And yes, it is Alliance. Look, overlooking them. So this in itself could be a battle potentially that could decide who still has a chance. Well, it will decide who still has a chance of coming in first place here and being champion. So pressure moments here for all of these players. If this fight happens, you have to hit your shots. You cannot let your teammates down. Nasky, Strafe and Dell with that extra KP on the board. No, they've weakened one of their closest competitors as well. They're just camping that banner as well and just seeing if Major Pushers fancy come and have a look at it.
Yeah, I think if this was anyone else, then maybe Nasky, Strafe and Dell might have moved on, but knowing it's Major Pushers and knowing they have the opportunity to gain some ground on our joint leaders right now is why they are just hovering around like an annoying little Roomba. I'm waiting to see if they can clean up the pieces.
I think Nasky's trying to bait some shots here as well, just jumping up as well as trying to get some vision, just to find out where these teams are currently hiding. You can see they're in a pretty good position to rotate too. They are on the low ground. We do have some nice cover to work with. And look at North, they found themselves inside this circle as well. So inside this circle, so many teams who could become a champion here. Taisheen with the scout in hand as well, as he's just spotted out a team, and now Nasky, Strafe and Dell are going to be in a fight, and it's going to be against Major Pushers. Dell is going to down Ranches here, and this could be the end of Major Pushers' game. Shots going down across as well. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell happy to get aggressive in this fight. And it looks like they're coming under pressure here from Fig Fam of all teams. Can they finish this fight? Good bubble play, but they're going to be caught up here, and Dell's going to have to go into the void.
He's going to be the last remaining player as well. And even though Nasky, Strafe, and Dell have done so well to eliminate at least 2 members on the side of major pushers.
Dell's out.
Dell's out, and I think that's going to be Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and their chances eliminated here. But they may have done so many other teams a favor here. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are eliminated. You can see their confirmation with the team tracker. Major pushers also fall, so that's 2 of our big 5 out, Mark. So that leaves Alliance, SJP2, and North as our real competitors here who are actually going to have a chance to win this championship. So yes, okay, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, they took down major pushers, and they've done a huge favor to everyone else in the lobby, but they went down at the same time.
IPN trying to peek this player up on those pipes. He's only got 12 shots to play with in the charge rifle, though, but he's got the Mastiff in the back pocket with a purple bolt on, so he's going to feel pretty confident should a team try and push. There is that solo player. And that is going to be Jazzy. He's done pretty well to make it this far for third impact. Outsiders now. Outsiders by name and nature as far as winning the tournament is concerned, but like you mentioned, the money on the line for the top 8 in this tournament. And it'd be somewhat of a statement if they could be one of those teams to upset one of these top teams. Flavor of the month coming under quite a lot of pressure here. R301 in hand here for Taylor. He's going to be forced to drop down. Noth and Pierre going to do what they can to keep him alive and back off. Outsiders, this is an elongated battle that's going down at the moment. It looks like Flavor of the month have actually given up this area. But Outsiders are still going to have to move as that ring is closing in 20.
Yeah, they need to get a little bit of a wiggle on now at this point. But they will straight into an EMP. And who is going to be there to clean up the kills? That's the real question. Who has the high ground over them? We are seeing so much kills.
Flavor of
the month have been able to pick up some big kills. SJP2 have fallen. And that is some big, big kills for Flavor of the Month. And very impactful with the top of the leaderboard. That means Alliance and North are our 2 squads, realistically, with a chance still of winning this.
That is absolutely huge, and now Mandy has managed to take down Nothman Flavor of the Month as well. Here come Luminosity, and they really could upset things here because I think they're trying to push onto North. They're going to destroy the pylon. IPN's going to be taken down in the kill feed as well by Graceful. A crazy end to our crazy game and our crazy tournament going on, and they're eliminated! LG take down North!
And surely this means it's for Alliance because they are just about holding on here. LG are throwing a massive spanner in this works. Flavor of the Month are now eliminated. We're down to the last 5. I want to see where Alliance reside. They're down to just 2, but they are alive. They are the last remaining team in the top 5. They were on 120 points mark before they started. Unless there's anything crazy from North here, then I really think that we are going to see Alliance take a victory.
Yeah, can we get confirmation if North have been eliminated? No, they haven't. North are still in the game. Somehow, RPR has stayed alive during all of this. And not only that, he's going to get the res onto Mandy. And now Alliance, as the tables are turning, Kiss has been taken down and Vaves is the last man alive.
Alliance have to survive here. They still have the advantage. They were 8 points ahead of North coming into this game, so it's all going to come down to KP, but RPR has actually just taken down Graceful. Vaves takes down Mady, so KP is being found by both Alliance and North, and this is going to come right down to the wire here, Mark.
And it's a 2v2 between these 2 teams, remember. IPN out. Hackis and Vaves, the last 2 alive here for Alliance. Now they have to make their move. Huge moments in this game, and the Pathfinder is going to find some hype, but he's also going to find a player above him and to his left. Big shot with the Mastiff. Vaves, you animal! He manages to win that fight, and that might have just won the tournament here for Alliance.
Yeah, so much KP being found, but North are still alive, and North need to take down Alliance here and get the victory to have any real chance of winning this championship. But honestly, Alliance have done so well, as I say that they fall, and we're down to just 2.
And one of those teams is North, but all that Alliance have done in these final moments, surely this means that North will not only potentially win this game as they take down LG, but have North done enough to be your champions of the EMEA region. What a finish to an insane tournament we have just had. North clutch up in every single definition of the word. What a performance, but was it enough?
Well, North are going to get 5 extra points from finishing first over the 7 points that Alliance are going to get finishing third. They were 8 points behind coming into it, so they've gained 5 already. Did they outdo them in terms of KP? That's going to be the real question. It's going to come down to the KP, what Alliance were able to do at the end. They picked up some big kills, so it still could be Alliance's victory here, but it's all going to come down to who was able to find more kills in the end game.
Oh my god, what a game that was of Apex Legends! Alliance, North, SJP2, all involved in those final moments. But what happened? That's in the past. It's all about those points for these teams now. That play from Alliance towards the end as well. Vaves on the Pathfinder just went insane to not only stay alive and get placement points, but pick up 2 kills. There was a player behind him that he just swung around on and flicked onto with the Mastiff. And is that play enough? Or is North staying alive enough? I don't know.
I'm sure that Alliance were breathing.
I thought North were dead here. I thought that was it.
I thought North were dead as well. It's crazy they were able to survive, but the escape tactics were perfect. But look at these shots.
This play.
They were hit by Vaves, by the way. Absolutely huge with the Mastiff, doing some real damage. And that 1 kill could be enough. You never really know when it comes down to calculating all these points and how close things were. But shout out to North. I mean, they were the top of the leaderboard throughout the majority of this tournament. They had only found 1 victory, and when they really needed to step up, they do step up. They get the victory, they get the 12 placement points. Did they get enough KP, Mark?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know yet. I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon. We're going to look back on some highlights of some of the games that we had earlier as well here on Kings Canyon, but I mean, so much to talk about, right? Coming into today, North and Alliance neck and neck. And at the end of the day, there were 5 teams who genuinely could have won this. And every single player on those teams have done everything they possibly could to create these storylines and put on this performance. Shout out to the players and the teams for putting on an absolute show, not only for us, but for everybody who is watching here, watching this EMEA Grand Final. I mean, it's been absolutely insane. But again, after 16 games down, we still don't know. We still have to work out the points. We still have to see who was clutched up.
Yeah, it's so difficult sometimes to track the actual KP, so I can't even do the maths for you. All I can say is that there were 3 points in it if you go off just placement points alone. As we're looking back at some of the highlights from today, when we moved over to Kings Canyon, and we've had some explosive games, Mark. I mean, there's been like kind of lulls at certain times, but as soon as we get to that end game, of course, things pick up. And Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, I mean, let's just mention them for a second. Like, they were out. They weren't even really a team that I was considering being able to be anywhere near the top set. And then suddenly they won 2 games back-to-back. And even in that final game, they really made the difference for a lot of other teams because they actually took down major pushers. They picked up, I think, around 6 KP. So they will still be pushing themselves up to that kind of top 3, top 4 situation for some decent prize money.
I mean, what else can you say, right? Competitive Apex Legends does not disappoint. Amazing stuff. And I'm going to keep reiterating it and keep saying it as we do look through these highlights. But what a 2 days it's been, right? And what a 5 weeks it's been in the build-up to this grand final. A grand final worthy of these teams that are playing in it at the moment. Shout out to the EMEA region. And this is the best bit, Dan. This is just the EMEA region, right? We've got the Americas to come later as well. But before we get there, have North done enough? That is the question.
I mean, you asked me right at the start of today, you were talking about like being the mentality when you're ahead and the mentality when you're behind. They started the day ahead and they had a couple of questionable games and then they fell behind, and then suddenly when they were behind, they seemed to step things up somewhat considerably. It is really going to change your outlook on how to approach a game when you are either ahead by a few points or behind by a few points. But in the end, very, very impressed with all of our teams today, to be honest. They've all put on a show, like even those down at the bottom of the leaderboards. I know we have a joke about those people having a little bit of a scrap at the bottom, but it was really entertaining, Mark, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Dan, it is time to reveal the leaderboards. North have done it! North have done it with a win in the final game of the tournament by 2 points. 2 points. 16 games and only 2 points could separate North and Alliance. and they won the game to win the tournament. Unreal stuff. Congratulations to North. They are your EMEA champions.
The fact that they had to not only win the game, but also pick up a decent amount of KP because they were 8 points behind Alliance going into it, just shows what a game they had in match 16. Shout out to Major Pushers finishing in third, Nasky Strafe and Dell for being able to get back up into fourth, and SJP2 finishing in fifth position. And then to round out the prize money, I mean, you can see the teams that were in 6 to 8. But this is how close the scoreboard was.
Oh my!
Both were able to get 9 kills, whereas Alliance, they were only able to pick up 4. If Alliance had just picked up a few more kills in that game, it could have been an entirely different one.
One more placement. They come second. What happens if it's all tied up? Goes to kills? Who knows? But we'll not worry about that right now, because all that matters is that team with a 0 and a 1 next to their name, and that is North. A huge, huge congratulations to RPR Tashin and of course their teammate. I mean, what do I say? We had a player profile on Mandy recently. They come in, and I said this right at the start, they are getting better and better and better at the weekend. We had a player profile, as I say, on Mandy. He comes in and they win the tournament, right, for the ALGS Super Regional. They then come into this tournament in the top 2 after day 1, and then they clutch up in the final game. I couldn't have written it better myself, although I have, Dan, written a little something just to close the show out, right?
Yes,
okay, so first let's get this out of the way, okay? Thank you all for watching, by the way. This has been so much fun the last few days. I know poetry's been a weird theme that we've kind of got into it, so I've written something just to sign off from the GLL Masters Summer. So here we go. I'm gonna just start giggling. The GLL Masters Summer would be nothing without you, the fans. You've watched all these teams battle from Fragment East to Golden Sands. Our EMEA finals were a blast, but a champion there could only be one. As North were top of the table, big kills came from their guns. So now we say goodbye, and my thanks, it goes to Dan. And to Golden Boy and Bravo, the Americas are in your hands. There we go. I'm done.
Lovely.
I'm done.
Lovely.
Amazing stuff. All that is left to say, I think, is thank you all once again for everybody who has tuned in, all the pros, all the players, the production at GLL for having us. Make sure to tune in later for the Americas, of course. That is going to be just as good as the EMEA region was, I would hope. But Dan, been an absolute pleasure to be alongside you once again in the booth. To everyone who's watched, thank you so much again. For now, though, that is all. We will see you next time.